Chapter 2808. Not good. Howling Moon's life was in danger. The expressions of the surrounding heaven-old race creatures also changed as they hurriedly went up to save him. They transformed into terrifying lights and charged forward. In an instant, they arrived beside the large palm. These three heaven-old race creatures roared and transformed into their main bodies. The three heavenly dogs were each 1,000 feet long, covering the sky and covering the sun as they roared crazily. One by one, the heads bared their fangs and brandished their claws, biting towards Lin Xian's palm, wanting to tear him apart and save Howling Moon. These three heads were too ferocious. When combined, their power was extremely terrifying. In an instant, they bit the large palm that covered the sky. Between heaven and earth, rumbling sounds were emitted as the surrounding void was shattering. Boom! Boom! The palm in the sky vibrated, directly shattering the three heads. Those three heads were torn apart, blood splattering wildly. Following that, 3 corpses fell from the sky. What killed? The Silver Lightning Race, Fire Cloud Race's ancient creatures were shocked, their eyes wide open in disbelief. The 3 Heavenly Dog Race creatures were actually killed in an instant. Furthermore, it was not a full-powered attack at all. Just the palm vibrated and they were killed. Damn it! Who in the world was that brat in the sky? What extent did his strength reach? They did not dare to imagine. The experts of the human race were stunned as well. Looking at this scene, their faces were filled with astonishment. Why do I feel that his strength has become stronger again? That's right, he was really too strong. We were still worried previously. Looks like our worries were really unnecessary. Most likely, no one can block more than a few moves from the Central Emperor. These people had a new understanding of Lin Xian's strength. In the sky, Howling Moon's miserable cries continued to sound. But not long later, it dissipated into thin air. The large palm that covered the sky slowly opened. A corpse fell down, falling into pieces. It was precisely Howling Moon's corpse. His soul had long been obliterated. His blood was even collected by the Crimson Dragon. Finally, the Crimson Dragon's dragon claws reached out and brought away Howling Moon's corpse. Tonight, we'll eat dog meat. The current Howling Moon already revealed his true form. It was a very large heavenly dog. Its size was like a small mountain. However, in front of the Crimson Dragon, he was like an ant. He was caught and put away. Immortal Palace's experts cheered crazily. This was too great. They were going to eat dog meat. It was said that the heavenly dog meat was very nutritious. "Hall Master, give me a few more spirit herbs to make the heavenly dog soup. It will taste even better. Tonight, I'll drink heavenly dog soup." Lin Xian laughed loudly. The Immortal Palace cultivators behind him became even more excited. The surrounding people were all stunned. Just like that, a genius of the ancient race was killed. It was unbelievable. Originally, they thought that this would be an intense battle, a fierce struggle between 2 giants. However, that was not the case at all. As Lin Xian spoke and laughed, he killed the other party with ease. "Geniuses from your 2 races, are you coming or not? If you don't come, I'll go back and eat heavenly dog meat." Su Qin then looked at the Fire Cloud tribe and the Silver Lightning tribe. Immediately, the ancient life forms of the 2 races began to tremble. Their eyes were filled with fear. "Brat, you're too arrogant. Today I'm going to kill you." A thunderous voice sounded between heaven and earth. Following that, tens of thousands of divine lightning bolts descended. A figure charged over quickly with the power of wind and thunder. It was the Silver Lightning tribe's genius. When the human cultivators in the distance saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. That was because only the Silver Lightning clan could control such terrifying lightning. When the ancient life forms of the Silver Lightning tribe saw this scene, they cried out in alarm. They had never felt as complicated as they did today, because in the past, when their geniuses arrived, they would definitely cheer. because they knew that those human saints were dead for sure. But this time they were worried for their geniuses, because the strength that the other party had displayed was too terrifying. It was bottomless. In the sea of lightning, a figure bathed in it. He was the Silver Lightning Tribe's genius, Lei Haotian. Buzz, suddenly, heaven and earth trembled. Rolling flames turned into a sea of fire that spread in all directions. A figure descended from the sky, carrying boundless divine flames, distorting the entire void. The Fire Cloud Tribe's genius was also here. Everyone cried out in alarm again. This time it was the Fire Cloud Tribe's genius, Hualing. She was a woman in a red dress. Her figure was hot, and her face was beautiful. Her fiery red hair reached her shoulders, and there was a fierce aura between her brows. Although she was beautiful, no one dared to underestimate her, because she was also a famous heaven's favorite. 5 saints had already been defeated by her. It could even be said that the strength of these 2 people was even more terrifying than Xiaoyu. The 2 ancient life forms of the 2 tribes hurriedly transmitted their voices to remind their geniuses not to act rashly. After Lei Haotian and Hualing heard this, they also frowned. There was even a trace of shock in their eyes. Xiaoyu was killed? How was that possible? They did not dare to believe that the other party was a genius with similar strength as them. He had many trump cards, and the power of his bloodline was also very terrifying. How could he be killed? They could not believe it at all. They even suspected that their subordinates had fallen into an illusion. Therefore, that Silver Lightning Race's genius, Lei Haotian, snorted coldly and walked out. Kid, I don't know what method you used to make these subordinates of mine fall into an illusion, but today you can't escape death. Daring to kill my Silver Lightning Race's martial artists in public, you can't escape death. What last words do you have? Leave them all. Lei Haotian stood out, lightning surging on his body, piercing in all directions. The Silver Lightning Race's ancient life forms quickly persuaded, but Lei Haotian did not believe them at all. In his opinion, these people were all under an illusion. Those human race martial artists in the distant side. It's over. This Lei Haotian was too confident, actually not believing his subordinates. Looks like this time the other party was dead for sure too. Yes, although this Lei Haotian's strength was stronger than Xiaoyu's, it was estimated that he only had 21,000 plus archaic power. Looks like he should not be Lin Xian's match. Everyone discussed animatedly, but Lei Haotian's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He was not the other party's match. What a joke! These humans actually dared to look down on him so much. This made him unable to tolerate it. Kid, go to hell for me. He directly pulled out a lightning-long blade from the sea of lightning and slashed forward. The lightning that filled the sky swallowed and spat out light, splitting the sky into 2. Reckless and blind. Then I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian smiled coldly, still calm and collected. Because the disparity in strength between the 2 parties was seriously too great, he directly reached out a palm and grabbed forward. Dare to grab my lightning son sword barehanded? Really courting death? Lei Haotian snorted coldly. This was not an ordinary lightning-long sword, but it was condensed with his bloodline power. The lightning sword was very terrifying, even more terrifying than a heaven-grade treasure sword. The other party actually dared to resist barehanded? He guaranteed that he would split the other party in half in an instant. Chapter 2809. Buzz. In the sky, the 2 attacks collided. The lightning sword struck the golden palm with a deafening sound. However, to everyone's astonishment, Lin Xian's palm did not break open. Instead, he grabbed the lightning sword. How was that possible? Lei Haotian was shocked when he saw that. The other party was actually able to contend against his Thunder Sun sword. This was simply too unbelievable. Was Lin Xian's physique that strong? Damn it, this guy actually had a physique comparable to a saint physique. Even members of the primeval races had heard of Leaf Daudeniar's physique. However, they did not expect Lin Xian's physique to be so strong. In the next moment, his expression changed drastically and he even screamed. The lightning sword made cracking sounds as it was covered with cracks. With a clang, the lightning sword was broken in half. It was broken. The incomparably terrifying sword of lightning was directly broken into pieces by someone. This scene was too shocking. Everyone stared with their eyes wide open, not daring to believe it at all. Lei Haotian was also stunned. In the sky, after Lin Xian's palm broke the lightning sword, he quickly pounced forward. With a bang, he slapped Lei Haotian's body. When Lei Haotian was struck by the palm, he was sent flying rapidly. The bones in his body were shattered and blood splattered everywhere. Even his internal organs were knocked out. He rolled for 70,000 to 80,000 miles before he stopped. His body was torn apart, and only his head was intact. The surrounding humans and Archean beasts were completely flabbergasted by the sight. Their eyelids were twitching, and their hearts were about to jump out. They did not expect to see this scene again. It was the same torture. No, the ancient creatures of the silver lightning race roared crazily. They had already warned their prodigy, but they did not expect him to ignore them. However, they did not expect their prodigy to be defeated so quickly. Lin Xian's body was torn apart with a single punch. How could this be? How could that kid be so strong? On the other side, Hualinger from the Fire Cloud race also frowned. Her eyes were filled with shock. Lin Xian's strength was far beyond her imagination. Ah, kid, I want you dead. With a crazy roar, Lei Haotian's body reformed once again. His face was pale, but his eyes were like lightning. He was simply too furious. His opponent's palm had actually shattered him into pieces. He couldn't stand it. He swore that he would torture the other party to death. Boom! Mysterious silver symbols appeared one after another on his body. They surged and pulsed, turning into terrifying lightning that surrounded his surroundings. Now that he had activated his bloodline power, he had activated it at full force. As prodigies of the Silver Lightning tribe, they were born with lightning. In particular, he was accompanied by a type of lightning called Silver Spirit Lightning. This kind of lightning contained an extremely strong destructive power. Now that he was using it, the void within a radius of tens of thousands of miles collapsed entirely, forming a terrifying black hole that seemed as though it was going to devour everything. Buzz Lei Haotian stretched out his palm and transformed it into a silver claw. There was a terrifying destructive force on it as he clawed forward. Wherever it passed, the void would shatter and be annihilated. Nothing could stop it. Not good. This power is too terrifying. Was this the power of his bloodline? He was indeed a genius of the Silver Lightning tribe. This destructive power was really despairing. You're too weak. I'm not interested. Looking at this scene, Lin Xian's voice was cold. Everyone in the surroundings was shocked. Too weak? Such a terrifying power, and he said that it was too weak? This was already close to 22,000 units of Archean power, and he said that it was too weak. Oh God, was this Lin Xian crazy? Or did he really have such strength? Everyone was shocked, and those archaic creatures roared crazily. That damn brat! Before they could finish their words, they were already stunned. In front of them, Lin Xian drew his sword. The long sword was like a dragon as it slashed down. The entire world was cut in half. Everyone trembled as if they were about to be split apart. Their bodies were uncontrollably prostrated on the ground. After that sword strike, all the terrifying scenes in the sky disappeared. The destructive power disappeared, and the large silver palm turned into ashes. In the distance, Lei Haotian's body floated in midair. A line of blood appeared between his eyebrows. It grew bigger and bigger, sliding down his cheeks and neck. Bang! His body was split in half. Even his soul power was destroyed in an instant. When the sword struck, he was destroyed. It was just one move. After that move, Lin Xian put away his long sword and stood with his hands behind his back. The prodigy of the Silver Lightning tribe was no longer breathing. Haha, another good thing. The Crimson Dragon laughed loudly. With a wave of its dragon claw, it put away the corpse and blood. This was already the corpse of the second archaic prodigy. If he could get a few more, he could set up a bloodthirsty, true spirit formation to cultivate. Lei Haotian, the prodigy of the Silver Lightning tribe, was dead. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it, especially those from the Silver Point tribe. They screamed crazily. They could not accept this fact at all. On the other side, the people of the Fire Cloud tribe were also terrified. Hualing, Er's face was pale. She turned around and left without saying a word. Previously, when her subordinates told her that the other party was very powerful and killed the Heavenly Dog prodigy in 3 moves, she did not believe them. But now she saw that Lei Haotian was easily killed by a sword strike. She believed it. The other party was really powerful and far surpassed her. Perhaps only the prodigies of the primordial royal families could fight against him. Such a person was not someone she could provoke. Hualing, Er's figure turned into a fiery red light and fled into the distance. Seeing this scene, the people of the 10,000 Archean races were stunned. The other party actually fled. The humans were also shocked. The prodigy of the primordial era actually admitted defeat. This was too unbelievable. You want to escape? Can you escape? Lin Xian watched as the other party fled. He did not chase after her. He stretched out his hands, and the sword qi on his body crackled, forming a large bow. He drew the bow and shot an arrow. Buzz! Terrifying sword qi surged between heaven and earth. This arrow pierced through the void and flew out. Boom! Hundreds of thousands of miles away. Hualing, Er's body stiffened. The arrow had pierced through her heart. She was also nailed to death in midair by this force. Ah! She screamed as if she had gone crazy. Her fiery red hair fluttered in the air, and her beautiful face was filled with infinite fear. You can't kill me. I am a prodigy of the Fire Cloud tribe. You have already offended 2 primordial races. You can't offend the Fire Cloud tribe anymore. Otherwise, there will be no path for you in the entire world. Humph. So what if I offend the Fire Cloud tribe? Behind her, Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back, his voice cold. His eyes erupted with a cold light. In front of him, the arrow that had pierced through Hualing suddenly exploded. Endless sword qi erupted and enveloped the other party. Boom! 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 Miserable cries and terrifying explosions rang out. Hundreds of thousands of miles ahead of them were filled with chaos and completely turned into nothingness. Chapter 2810. When everything disappeared, everyone trembled. The Crimson Dragon also sighed. Sigh, nothing is left behind. That's right, Hualing. I had been completely killed. There was no corpse left, not even a drop of blood. The sword qi of the great dragon's sword soul was truly terrifying. They were dead. The 3 geniuses of the 10,000 ancient races were famous all over the world, suppressing the human holy sun until he could not raise his head. But now, in front of Lin Xian, they were easily killed. In the blink of an eye, a powerful enemy had been reduced to ashes. That was the true portrayal of Lin Xian. Previously, no one had expected Lin Xian to be so powerful, especially the remaining ancient creatures. Their faces were filled with despair. Previously, they had been clamoring for more than a month, but the other party did not come out. They thought that the other party was afraid and was not their match at all. But how could they know that the other party was too powerful? It was fine if he did not make a move, but once he made a move, it was a fatal blow. They could not bear the consequences of such a thing. Damn kid! The Silver Lightning race will definitely not let you off. Yes, the fire cloud race will definitely tear you into pieces. How dare you kill one of our people? The heavenly dog race will let you know what regret is. The ancient creatures roared crazily. They had really gone crazy. They swore to report to their family's patriarchs and completely destroy the other party. Lin Xian turned his head and looked at the ancient creatures with an extremely cold gaze. Those ancient creatures were enveloped by his gaze. Their bodies trembled and they directly knelt on the ground. There was nothing they could do. That aura was too powerful. Lin Xian was like a peerless god of war, high and mighty, while they were ants in the mortal world. How could they withstand such a gaze? Therefore, they all knelt on the ground with a plop. Damn it, impossible! Get up! More than a dozen ancient creatures roared crazily. They were the high and mighty 10,000 ancient races with noble statuses. Previously, the human race was their slave, but now they were kneeling in front of the other party. Moreover, their bodies were kneeling uncontrollably. They could not even stand up. The ancient creatures trembled. Such a situation would only happen when they faced their family's patriarchs. However, the other party, a young man, actually did it. It seems that you're determined to kill me. If that's the case, why should I show mercy to you? As he spoke, Lin Xian's gaze erupted, transforming into tens of thousands of sword lights that directly pierced through these ancient creatures. 10,000 arrows piercing the heart. These archaic creatures fell to the ground, no longer breathing. The entire world was silent. The human warriors in the distance were completely stunned. Powerful, it was too powerful. Good, well done. As expected of Central Emperor Lin Xian, Almighty Lin Xian was indeed powerful. These people clenched their fists in excitement and roared madly. It couldn't be helped. These days they had been suppressed by the 10,000 ancient races to the point that they couldn't breathe. These 10,000 ancient races were like gods as they walked the earth. Wherever they passed, the human race's geniuses would be defeated. Only a small number of people were able to resist it. But right now, Lin Xian had taken down 3 archaic paragons with ease in a domineering manner. This gave them a sense of hope. Lin Xian might be able to save the human race. At the very least, he could save their face. Lin Xian looked into the distance and said to the human warriors who were watching the battle, "Spread the news. Tell the 10,000 ancient races, geniuses, to wash their necks and wait for me. I will trample on them one by one. I will let them know the consequences of challenging the human race." Lin Xian's voice was sonorous, reverberating between heaven and earth. The human warriors in the distance were extremely excited. It was as if they had been injected with chicken blood, and their faces were flushed red. He was going to sweep the world. That's right. Previously, the 10,000 ancient races swept through the human race. Now, Lin Xian was going to use the same method to sweep through the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses. Let's go and spread the news. This was really something to be happy about. They had to let the world know how powerful the human race's geniuses were. These people flew in all directions and began to spread the news crazily. Soon, the news spread like a hurricane. It spread throughout the entire Middle State to the eastern wilderness, western desert, northern plains, and Nanling. In an instant, the world was shocked and the entire race was in an uproar. What? You're saying that Lin Xian came out of seclusion? And he easily killed 3 primordial geniuses. Everyone was stunned. They had truly experienced how powerful the primordial geniuses were during this period of time. However, Lin Xian actually came out of seclusion in such a domineering manner. This action shocked and excited these people. At first, they didn't believe it. However, as more and more news and details were revealed, they had no choice but to believe that Lin Xian was really that terrifying. Moreover, what shocked them even more was that Lin Xian said that he was going to sweep through the 10,000 ancient races' geniuses. This news excited the entire human race. As for the 10,000 ancient races, they were driven mad with anger. A puny human dared to say such words to them? He really didn't know time. The 10,000 ancient races were high and mighty existences. How could a lowly human provoke them? Therefore, the 10,000 ancient races geniuses were all filled with killing intent, preparing to kill Lin Xian. Jade Lake, sacred ground. Murong Qingqing and Xin Jingqiu stood arm in arm in front of the immortal peach tree. When they heard the news, their faces were filled with joy. Big brother Lin Xian is too awesome. Big brother Xian finally came out of seclusion. The two of them smiled. Previously, they were worried that Lin Xian had been in seclusion and hadn't come out, so they were worried that something had happened. But now it seemed that he was just in seclusion. Yi family. Yi Wudao stood at the peak of a mountain with his black hair fluttering in the wind. When he heard the news, his eyes shone with a piercing cold light. Elder, I also want to sweep through the world. It's finally about to begin. When the Yi family's elders heard the news, they also took a deep breath. Their expressions were solemn as they nodded solemnly. Go ahead and attack. We won't care about the younger generation. Leave the older generation to us. Yi Wudao was their hope and the future of their family. However, they knew that this kind of future shouldn't be a flower raised in a greenhouse. He had to go through bloody battles to become a true, greater success Saint Physique. Previously, Yi Wudao had planned to challenge the 10,000 ancient races geniuses. However, before he could make a move, Lin Xian had announced it in advance. This ignited the fire in his heart. Therefore, he didn't hesitate to say that he would sweep through the world. For a time, the world was in an uproar again. Was Yi Wudao going to make a move too? Saint Physiques were indeed powerful. Central Emperor and Eastern Sage were going to make a move. Who knew what the other titled kings would do? Everyone was looking forward to it. Western Desert, 10,000 Buddha Temple. Dustless sat there, his eyes clear and without any fluctuations. He chanted the Buddhist Dharma, Amitabha. My Buddha is merciful. I am willing to eliminate all suffering and eliminate all suffering in the world. Chapter 28:11. When this news came out, it shocked the world once again. Although the other party did not say that he would challenge all the 10,000 Archean tribes, it was clear that Wu Qin was going to come out and travel the world. It would be another earth-shattering battle. South Mountain, Yan family. The Yan family was also an overlord in South Mountain. At that moment, in a fairyland in the Yan family, a man stood there with his hands behind his back. He was handsome like a banished immortal, and there was a terrifying divine light on his body. He was Yan Nantian, the one known as the South Emperor. Yan Nantian was also one of the titled prodigies. He was extremely powerful, and it was rumored that he had obtained the inheritance of a great emperor. His foundation was terrifying, and his strength was unfathomable. At that moment, Yan Nantian was not standing there alone. There were two figures opposite him. One of them was a mysterious figure surrounded by black flames. He was like the god of hell, and he emitted a terrifying aura. Even the surrounding space became distorted. Behind that person was a pair of black flame wings with mysterious black runes on them. Apart from that, he also had a black tail that was like a black whip. It emitted a sharp aura. It seemed that he was not alone. The figure standing next to him was even stranger. He had 3 heads. However, those 3 heads were not human. The one on the left was a crocodile head, the one in the middle was a lion head, and the one on the right was an elephant head. 3 heads on one person's body, it was really strange. Moreover, that person was covered in scales. His limbs were thick, and his claws were like the claws of a beast. They had an extremely sharp aura. With a wave of his hand, he could easily cut through the void. At that moment, the 3-headed monster snorted. Lin Xian was really arrogant. He wanted to conquer the world. He was courting death. Not only Lin Xian, but the Eastern Wilderness, Sacred Being, and Western Desert's Wu Qin were also courting death. The 10,000 Archean tribes were definitely beyond their imagination. The 10,000 Archean tribes. Those two people were also members of the 10,000 Archean tribes. However, they were standing with Yen Nantian. No one knew what the relationship between the three of them was. Hearing that, Yen Nantian's eyes flickered. I've seen the Eastern Wilderness sacred being before. He's very powerful. After all, he is a clan of the ancients, a descendant of the monarch clan. He is equivalent to the royal clan of the 10,000 Archean clans. Therefore, you must not be careless. As for that Central Emperor Lin Xian, although he had never seen him before, he had heard that he practiced the 9-yang divine body. After he cultivated it, he wouldn't be any weaker than a great success holy physique. So, he would be a difficult opponent to deal with. But don't worry, I'm not afraid of these two. At this point, his eyes were filled with pride. There were very few people in heaven and earth who didn't fear Lin Xian and Leaf Daodenier, and Yen Nantian was one of them. At the front, the black, flaming figure and the 3-headed monster sneered. Don't worry. So what if they're from the remote antiquity? Apart from having extreme weapons, they can't compare to the ancient theocrats. There was no need to even mention Leaf Daodenier. Although he was a descendant of an emperor clan, the great emperor blood flowing in his body was simply too thin. You must know that the primeval theocrats have princes and princesses. That was the direct descendant of a great emperor. How terrifying would such a bloodline be? It was definitely not something that Leaf Daodenier could compare to, let alone Lin Xian. At this point, their eyes were filled with passion and worship. The child of a great emperor. What a terrifying bloodline inheritance. It would probably surpass all the primeval aristocratic families. Yen Nantian's expression also fluctuated. Would a great emperor really appear? To be honest, he was also too shocked. One had to know that he was someone who had obtained the inheritance of a great emperor. He knew how terrifying a great emperor was the best. How heaven-defying would that bloodline be if it was directly passed down? Perhaps he would be born with this earth-shattering power. It was absolutely true that a dragon crown prince was about to appear in the nest of 10,000 dragons. Just wait, it won't be long before he appears. Moreover, the 10,000 ancient races have already discussed it. When the time comes, we will join forces to control the world together. Don't worry, as long as your Yen family helps the 10,000 ancient races. When the time comes, your Yen family will be the primeval royal family. As for the others, if they dare to resist the 10,000 ancient races, they will be completely reduced to slaves. At this point, a sharp light erupted from their eyes. Don't worry, my Yen family will naturally be on good terms with you. Yen Nantian said in a deep voice. If someone was here and heard this news, they would definitely be extremely shocked. The Yen family was actually going to join forces with the 10,000 ancient races. What was even more shocking was that the 10,000 ancient races were actually secretly plotting to regain control of the world. It seemed that the human race was really going to fall into a disaster. On the other side, the Silver Lightning race, the Heavenly Dog race, and the Fire Cloud race had an extremely solemn atmosphere. Their prodigy had been killed in front of everyone right outside the city. In fact, none of the ancient creatures had returned. This made them extremely angry. Damn it, kill him, we must kill him. Elder, I'll go kill him. One figure after another stood out. Attack! If you encounter that brat, don't show any mercy. Directly kill him. Preserve his soul and body and bring him back. Let him suffer for 10,000 years. I want him to live a life worse than death. Among the 3 great races, cold voices sounded one after another. The prodigies of the 3 great races appeared again, and Lin Xian had already left the immortal palace. After Lin Xian said that he would dominate the world was in an uproar, and the atmosphere became more and more intense. Lin Xian felt that it was about time to make a move, so he and the Crimson Dragon left the immortal palace on the Black Earth. Their first destination was the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty, because the prodigy of the dark feather race, Yu Yi, was there. This was not the first time Lin Xian had come to the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty. Previously, when he helped the 8th prince obtain the position of crown prince, he had come here before. At that time, he had an intense conflict with the first prince and the empress. He was even hunted down and left the Tai dynasty in the end. Now that he had come to the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty again, it was a completely different scene. The black earth moved quickly. Lin Xian was inside, using the blood of the ancient prodigies to temper his body. At the same time, he silently absorbed divine crystals and swallowed pills to improve himself. Brat, the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty, is outside. The black earth floated over and quickly reminded him. Lin Xian opened his eyes, and a piercing light burst out from his eyes. He walked out of the blood-colored array and put on a bright red robe. His soul probed the outside world. Whoosh, whoosh, his figure flashed, and he and the crimson dragon left the black earth. The little white monkey was also dozing off on his shoulder. The group descended. This time, Lin Xian did not go through the south gate, nor did he pay any spiritual stones. Instead, he descended directly from the sky. He wanted to forcefully descend into the imperial capital of the Tai dynasty. This scene was exactly the same as when the 3 prodigies of the Silver Lightning race had forcefully descended into the imperial capital of the Divine Wind race. Chapter 28:12. There were 2 reasons why Lin Xian did this. Firstly, he wanted to tell the Tai dynasty that he, Lin Xian, had returned. Moreover, he had returned in an extremely domineering manner, because he knew that there was still an empress in the imperial capital, and she still had a terrifying force behind her. Lin Xian had to intimidate the other party with his powerful stance. Secondly, the purpose of his trip was to dominate the world and trample the immemorial celestial feet under his feet. If those immemorial celestial sects could descend from the sky and enter the imperial capital, why couldn't he? If those immemorial prodigies were arrogant, then he would be even more arrogant than all of them. Therefore, at this moment, Lin Xian was like a peerless god of war as he quickly descended. Boom! 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 Lin Xian stomped his foot, and a terrifying golden wave surged downward. Immediately, the entire imperial capital's array formation was activated. Endless light shone, and a terrifying sword qi pierced through the clouds. Everyone in the Tai dynasty was shocked. At this moment, they looked up at the sky. Someone was shaking the peerless array formation. There was a figure above. Could it be that another immemorial prodigy had entered? Hurry up and report. A shout sounded. The people of the Tai dynasty were shocked. In the imperial palace, dragon guards appeared one after another. The imperial elders also came out. Their gazes were like lightning, piercing through the void and looking forward. In the next moment, they were extremely shocked. Damn it, it wasn't an immemorial creature, but a human. Who dared to be so bold as to challenge the Tai dynasty? The expressions of the dragon guards generals and elders all sank. It was one thing for the 10,000 ancient races to descend. After all, they were extremely terrifying. But who among the humans dared to be so rude, activate the array formation, and directly kill the other party? An elder of the imperial family said coldly. The cultivators in the imperial capital were even more shocked. Who was it that was so reckless? Did they want to imitate the 10,000 ancient races? Did they not know how powerful the 10,000 ancient races were? It was over. They would definitely be killed by the array formation. It was probably someone who did not know the immensity of heaven and earth. Everyone shook their heads and sneered. At this moment, a voice came from the imposing figure in the sky. I am Immortal Palace's lord, Central Emperor Lin Xian. You dare use formations against me? The voice was filled with authority and a terrifying aura, causing the space within the imperial city to rapidly shatter. Terrifying cracks appeared one after another. What? Lin Xian? It was Central Emperor Lin Xian. Countless warriors in the imperial city were shocked. Lin Xian had actually come here. One had to know that Lin Xian's reputation had swept across the continent during this period of time. There was nothing he could do about it. He had killed 3 geniuses in a domineering manner. Such a battle record was simply too shocking, especially the other party's posture. The other party was the first among the young prodigies of the human race to declare that he was going to dominate the world. The generals and elders of the imperial family were also taken aback. The opponent was actually a central emperor. They did not expect that Lin Xian would actually come here. Furthermore, just like the other Archean prodigies, they had to descend from the sky. "Elder, what should we do?" the generals asked. The elder's expression was gloomy and uncertain. He said, "Don't activate the array first." Soon, he sent a voice transmission to the imperial city. Sure enough, a message came from the depths of the imperial palace. After the elders heard it, they were extremely shocked. In the next moment, they opened the array and let the other party in. Why? Let the other party in? The generals' faces were full of shock. They knew that other than the Archean prodigies who dared to enter, no other human experts would receive such treatment. But now, they were actually going to open the array directly to a young man. They had to admit that it was really unprecedented. They knew that this was not something the elder could decide. It was an order from a terrifying existence in the depths of the imperial palace. Therefore, they had to quickly open the array. The generals quickly controlled the array disk. Suddenly, a crack appeared in the sky, and the array opened up a space. Buzz! 2 figures descended forcefully. They were Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon. Lin Xian. It was Lin Xian. It was indeed him. Countless warriors in the imperial city looked up at the sky. Lin Xian descended from the sky like a peerless god of war. Beside him, the Crimson Dragon bared its fangs and brandished its claws. The little white monkey on his shoulder was yawning in boredom. "I wonder why Hall Master Lin has come to the Tai dynasty?" the elder of the Tai dynasty asked with cupped fists. Lin Xian nodded. He had heard that the prodigy of the Serene Feather Race was here and had asked him to come out. What? He wanted to challenge the prodigy of the Serene Feather Race? Hearing this, the imperial family elders' eyelids twitched. The surrounding people were also in an uproar. It seemed that the other party was not just talking about conquering the world. Was he going to make a move? Yes, everyone seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They did not expect to be able to witness such a shocking battle today. One had to know that previously the Archean prodigies roamed the world and specifically challenged the saints and prodigies of the sacred grounds. As for the saints and prodigies of the sacred grounds, they either passively accepted the challenge or went into seclusion. Very few people came out to challenge the Archean prodigies. Lin Xian was the first. How could they not be excited to see such a scene? The elders of the Tai dynasty also had their eyelids twitching. It seemed that the other party was really going to conquer the world. He took a deep breath and said in a deep voice, "The prodigy of the Serene Feather Race was currently a guest in the imperial palace. Hall Master Lin, why don't you follow me into the imperial palace?" The old man made an inviting gesture. Lin Xian shook his head. There was no need. No one else could see the battle in the imperial palace. There should be a battle arena in the imperial palace, right? Let's fight there. Let all the human warriors in the world see how I trample these Archean prodigies under my feet. How dare you bully the human race? Do you think there's no one left in the human race? At this point, a piercing light burst out from his eyes and a terrifying aura rose from his body. The elders were shocked. The warriors in the imperial palace were all excited and clenched their fists. To clear the name of the human race. How exciting was that? Yes, they were in urgent need of a prodigy to make a name for themselves and intimidate the 10,000 ancient races. Yes, fight. They must defeat the other party. What 10,000 ancient races? How dare they put on such airs? This is the territory of the human race. Angry roars sounded one after another. They were too aggrieved. The 10,000 ancient races had special treatment everywhere, which made them very unhappy. How were they inferior to the other party? Today, they wanted to see with their own eyes how Lin Xian would kill the other party. As more and more people responded, their voices turned into tens of thousands of thunderclaps that shook the clouds. The entire imperial capital trembled. Even those in the imperial city were shocked by this scene. What was happening? Were the people outside going to be shocked? In the imperial palace, the elders of the imperial family were also shocked. They all stretched out their souls. When they saw the scene outside, they sucked in a breath of cold air. Chapter 28:13. Oh no, Lin Xian is here. Moreover, why are the martial artists of the royal capital so agitated? Lin Xian wants to challenge a prodigy of a race. Hurry up and calm those people down. Orders were passed down, and many elders hurried out to calm them down. One had to know that most people hated the 10,000 Archean races. There were a few Archean creatures in the royal palace as guests. What if these people were angered and attacked the royal palace? Although they couldn't break through, they would become the laughingstock of the world if word of a fight got out. Get that Yu Yi to come out and fight with our great god Lin Xian. What's with the pretense? Come out of the royal palace if you have the ability. Lin Xian had cleared the name of the human race and won a large number of followers. At this moment, these supporters were all roaring. Their voices turned into thunder and rolled into the royal palace. The people in the royal palace instantly understood what was going on. Lin Xian wanted to fight with the prodigy of the serene feather race outside the royal palace for all the humans to see. The experts in the royal palace looked at each other. Among them, an elder sighed and quickly passed the news to the prodigy of the serene feather race. Soon the martial artists of the royal family moved quickly and arrived at the royal palace. The royal palace was very quiet and the environment was very good. The underground dragon vein surged and there were a few figures sitting there, drinking and chatting. Around them stood 7 or 8 maidservants. Their bodies were trembling and their faces were pale. Beside them, 5 or 6 maidservants had collapsed on the ground, their blood staining the ground red. The hearts of those maidservants had been dug out. Some of them had even been torn in half. These dead maidservants hadn't done anything wrong. They had only been killed by the Archean creatures for fun. The martial artist of the royal family came to the hall and frowned when he saw this scene. However, when he thought of the other party's identity, he still sighed. He walked over and told the Archean creatures what had happened outside. When the Archean creatures heard this, they stopped what they were doing and emitted a cold and terrifying aura. Are you saying that someone dares to challenge me? In the middle sat a youth. He had a pair of black wings on his back. The black feathers on them were like black gold and shone with a cold light. He had a handsome face and 2 horns on his head. His eyes were incomparably dark, like the starry night sky. He was the prodigy of the dark feather race Yi. Which saint was so reckless? One of the ancient life forms snorted coldly. It was Immortal Palace's clan, Central Emperor Lin Xian. What? Lin Xian? Are you talking about that Lin Xian who killed 3 primordial geniuses? Hearing this, the faces of the archaic creatures sank. They naturally knew what had happened before. The 3 sky prides of the Silver Electric tribe, the Heavenly Dog tribe, and the Fire Cloud tribe were killed on the spot. It was Lin Xian. Not only that, the other party soon spread the word that he wanted to dominate the world, trampling all the geniuses of the supreme ancient immortal realms beneath his feet. This was simply intolerable to them. When these paragons found out about this, they could only grit their teeth in anger. To think that the other party would take the initiative to come knocking on their doors before they could even make a move. Especially after Yu Yi heard this, his face was extremely gloomy. What did the other party mean by looking for him first? You think he's easier to deal with? What a joke. He stood up, exuding an incomparably cold, killing intent. It was abnormally terrifying. His strength was above Lei Haotian and the other two from the Silver Electric tribe. Moreover, in his opinion, there was a reason why Lei Haotian and the other two were killed so quickly. The three of them must have been careless, and the other party attacked with all his might. This resulted in this situation. He would not make such a mistake. He would attack with all his might from the start. I'd like to see what ability this Lin Xian has to be so arrogant to me. Yu Yi stood up, and the cold aura on his body destroyed all the buildings in the main hall. The archaic creatures beside him reached out and grabbed two of the maids. Then they opened their mouths and bit their heads to pieces. The maidservants trembled and fell to the ground, lifeless. The martialist from the royal family was shocked by this scene. These archaic creatures were too cruel. They did not treat humans as humans at all. That was right. In the eyes of these archaic creatures, humans were ants and slaves that they could kill at will. And they were high and mighty gods, masters. Now that an ant dared to provoke them, they naturally had to deal with the other party. The group of people strode outside. Soon, they arrived outside the imperial palace. Which one of you is Lin Xian? Get over here and die. The archaic creatures were very arrogant. Yu Yi stood in the void with his hands behind his back. His black wings spread open, exuding a biting cold aura. The dark feather race had come out. The other human cultivators in the imperial palace exclaimed when they saw the scene. Their faces were pale. The aura exuding from the other party was too powerful. In addition to the terrifying power, there was also a terrifying bloodline pressure. They knew that this was the bloodline power of the 10,000 ancient races. It was much stronger than ordinary people like them. It was so oppressive that they could not breathe. Sigh, these 10,000 ancient races were born to be favored. The power of the bloodline itself contained so much power that it was far beyond the power of the human race. Many human cultivators shook their heads and sighed. They were too envious of this bloodline power. Among the human race, there were very few people who had bloodline power. And these 10,000 ancient races basically all had bloodline power. The only difference was the strength of their bloodline. This difference in talent made these human cultivators feel despair and helpless. How they came out. The crimson divine dragon narrowed his eyes and let out a loud roar when he saw this scene. The dragon's aura was vast and mighty, sweeping through the heavens and earth. Then it neutralized the bloodline pressure of the dark feather race. The human cultivators heaved a sigh of relief. They were extremely shocked as they looked at the crimson dragon. Dragon's aura. It was really a dragon. The rumors were true. Lin Xian had a divine dragon by his side, and this dragon was on their side. They were wild with joy. The dark feather races' faces darkened. Even the archaic creatures began to tremble. They could not compare to the other party's bloodline pressure. One of them could not even stand steadily and almost fell from the sky. This scene made many people laugh. The archaic creatures of the dark feather race were furious. Damn it. They originally wanted to intimidate the human race and flaunt their strength, but they did not expect that they would be slapped in the face and become a joke. Damn it, who was it? They stared at the crimson dragon. In the next moment, their hearts trembled. They did not dare to be arrogant. Their gazes moved away from the crimson dragon and landed on Lin Xian. Yu Yi spoke. You are Lin Xian? You dare to challenge me? Challenge you? You think too much. I'm just teaching you how to step on you. Lin Xian said indifferently. He looked calm and indifferent, as if he did not put the other party in his eyes. Chapter 28:14. You're courting death. Yu Yi was enraged. The other party's attitude infuriated him. One had to know that he usually used this attitude to deal with other human prodigies. But now a human martial artist dared to treat him like this? This was intolerable. He was a high and mighty existence, and the other party was just an ant. Brat, come and die! He roared angrily, and the aura on his body suddenly erupted. The surrounding heaven and earth instantly darkened. The originally bright day with the sun in the sky turned into night. It was so dark that one couldn't even see their fingers. A terrifying aura engulfed everyone. It made these martial artists tremble. They all roared angrily. These human martial artists activated their battle armor, and light bloomed from their bodies. However, their radiance dimmed in an instant. This darkness suppressed everything. Not good. It's the other party's domain. This was the dark starry sky domain, the other party's bloodline power. The human martial artists were terrified. This domain was too terrifying. It could suppress all light. They couldn't see anything clearly. They even felt that their soul power was being suppressed. Damn it, not good. They were probably doomed in this dark starry sky domain, because the other party wasn't affected, and they couldn't see anything at all. How could they fight? Everyone was terrified. They were all worried for Lin Xian. You want to suppress me with a mere darkness? Lin Xian snorted coldly. He activated his 9-yang divine body, releasing billions of rays of light. With a Hong sound, terrifying radiance rushed into the heavens, moving in all directions. His body turned into a blazing sun. It illuminated all directions. In an instant, the originally dark space became bright again. It was even dozens of times brighter than before. Everyone was stunned when they saw this scene. The dark starry sky domain was broken. It was unbelievable. The ancient creatures of the dark feather race were also shocked. Yu Ye's pupils shrank. What was going on? The other party could still release light and directly light up the entire world. This way, the effect of his king's domain would be greatly reduced. What other abilities do you have? Use them all. Otherwise, you won't have a chance. Lin Xian said indifferently. Brat, don't be arrogant. Don't think that you can show off in front of me just because you can light up the sky. To be honest, you're still far from it. Yu Yi snorted. So what if the other party illuminated the light? His strength was not limited to this. As expected, the whole place began to tremble once again. The black light on Yu Ye's body became more and more intense. He was like a black hole that swallowed everything. Whoosh! He moved. Like a black demon king, he charged forward at high speed. A palm stretched out as if it had reached out from hell. It carried an incomparably terrifying energy as it grabbed forward. They wanted to capture Lin Xian. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Light bloomed from his body, and the blood in his body roiled. He was like a peerless sun, emitting millions of rays of light. Boom! Boom! A terrifying radiance soared into the sky, blocking the giant black palm. Not only that, but the light seemed to carry an incomparably monstrous flame that wanted to burn the black palm. As expected of the Central Emperor, it was indeed terrifying. Even without moving, the light emanating from his body was more than enough to fend off the other party's attack. That's right, Lin Xian is really too strong. The prodigies of the human race are indeed terrifying. The human race cultivators exclaimed in shock. They were too excited because the strength that Lin Xian had displayed made them extremely excited. On the other side, the archaic creatures from the serene feather race had gloomy expressions as they gritted their teeth. Impossible! Damn it! This brat must have used all his strength to be able to contend against our prodigies. They could not believe what they were seeing. Yu Ye's expression was even colder. A piercing light burst out from his eyes. Kill! With a furious roar, the giant black palm exploded once again. Black runes appeared on it as it slammed down, directly piercing through the countless rays of light. It completely enveloped Lin Xian. Go to hell, brat! At this moment, Yu Yi was truly enraged. Boom! 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 The giant black palm covered the sky and covered everything, directly grabbing Lin Xian. There was only darkness in front of them. No one could see through it. Even their soul power could not see what was going on inside. Seeing this, Yi laughed. The archaic creatures from the serene feather race raised their heads and laughed. Ha 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 ha, what human prodigy! In front of the 10,000 ancient races, he can't even withstand a single blow. That's right. I originally thought that he was some powerful figure who could contend against our prodigies. I didn't expect that he was just a figurehead. He's not a match for our prodigies at all. These archaic creatures were very arrogant. On the other hand, the human cultivators were shocked. Not good. Lin Xian was enveloped. He's not in danger, right? I don't know. This giant palm is very terrifying and can destroy everything. I'm afraid that Lin Xian is in danger. Not necessarily. The 9-yang divine body is stronger than we imagined. He should be fine. These people discussed animatedly. However, they were extremely nervous because they could not see the situation inside. No one can contend against me, not to mention you humans. Yu Yi stood in the void. The giant black palm rumbled. Boundless black qi spread out as if it wanted to refine Lin Xian. This scene shocked everyone even more. However, not long after, an explosion sounded in the sky. An entire space trembled violently. Even the giant black hand trembled. This was not Yu Yi activating their ray formation, but the person inside seemed to be about to rush out. Seeing this, Yu Ye's expression changed. Just as he was about to activate his power, a sword light lit up in the next moment. It swept across the 9 heavens and 10 lands as if it had become an eternal light. It shone between heaven and earth. The light was so dazzling that everyone could not open their eyes. The giant black palm was also cut in half. From inside, a figure walked out. This person was Lin Xian. His entire body bloomed with light, and divine flames danced. Sword qi surrounded him, making him look like a peerless war god. Lin Xian rushed out from inside. This is your strength? You've really disappointed me. Lin Xian's voice was cold. His blood qi surged into the sky, shaking the void. He swung his sword, shattering heaven and earth. There was a loud boom. The terrifying giant black hand was torn apart, turning into countless spirit qi fragments that scattered across heaven and earth. What? It was broken. This was impossible. The ancient creatures were stunned. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Yu Yi was also stunned. The human martial practitioners were also dumbfounded. However, after that, they erupted into incomparable cheers. Great, Lin Xian rushed out. I told you. How could Central Emperor Lin Xian be defeated so easily? Just wait, this is just the beginning. Chapter 28:15. The sword qi on Lin Xian's body became stronger and stronger. He swung his sword and slashed forward. Damn brat, get lost. Yu Yi was enraged. The black wings on his back flapped, and he charged forward. The two of them engaged in a fierce battle. Terrifying energy exploded and swept across the land. Luckily, this was the imperial city. There was a peerless array that covered the entire city. Otherwise, this attack would definitely destroy the entire imperial city. Boom, boom, boom. The energy in the sky shot into the clouds, stirring up the wind and clouds. Everyone was mesmerized by the scene. Suddenly, Lin Xian stabbed out with his sword, piercing through Yu Ye's body and nailing him in midair. This sword was too stunning. Yu Yi couldn't dodge it at all. His body was pierced through and blood rained down. Ah! He let out a pitiful cry. Light bloomed on his body, and energy surged as he tried to break free. Boom, boom, boom. The surrounding space shattered. A pair of black wings kept spinning, forming 2 black hurricanes. They charged forward, trying to destroy the ancient sword. However, he couldn't do it. The sword light in front of him was too bright, and it destroyed all his attacks. Not only that, he could feel the violent sword chi in his body exploding, trying to tear his body apart. Damn it! At this critical moment, he was very decisive. He self-destructed, and his body exploded into a bloody mist. He then reformed in the distance. "Brat, I'm going to kill you," he roared. He waved his hands, and a long black saber appeared, slashing forward. The other party had forced him to self-destruct to escape danger. He would definitely take revenge. In the distance, the human warriors were shocked. They couldn't believe that the powerful Yu Yi was at a disadvantage in an instant, especially the archaic creatures. They were even more shocked. That's not right. Our prodigy must have been careless. He definitely won't lose again. As expected, Yu Yi exploded with unparalleled power. The two sabers restrained the ancient sword. He even sent the ancient dragon, Abyss, sword flying. This scene made the archaic creatures celebrate. Yu Yi even charged in front of Lin Xian. The long blade in his hand was about to chop off Lin Xian's head. Lin Xian snorted coldly. The ancient dragon Abyss sword shone brightly in the sky, tearing apart the 9 heavens and 10 earths. At the same time, Lin Xian's pair of huge hands sent the pair of black sabers flying. Whoosh! He grabbed the pair of black wings and pulled with all his might. Pucci! Yu Yi was torn in half. Miserable cries rang out, as if countless ghosts were howling, causing everyone's scalp to go numb. No, those ancient life forms screamed like they had gone mad. Their heavenly geniuses had been torn apart again. What was going on? Yu Yi roared like a madman. He wanted to heal his body, but Lin Xian refused to let go. Lin Xian's strength was so great that Yu Yi was unable to escape. Buzz, buzz, buzz! The blood that filled the sky surged and turned into swords of blood that shot towards Lin Xian. They hit Lin Xian's body, making clanging sounds. The 9-yang divine body exploded. Lin Xian didn't have to dodge at all. Instead, he sent all the swords flying. I've said it before. You don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me. Killing you is just a matter of time. Lin Xian's voice shook the 9 heavens. At this moment, he was like a peerless god of war, extremely powerful. His arms shook, shattering the void. He grabbed the pair of black wings, preventing Yu Ye's body from healing. Yu Yi screamed like he had gone mad. His soul temporarily left his body, wanting to fly into the sky. At this moment, the ancient dragon Abyss sword above his head exploded. It carried a terrifying dragon-shaped sword aura as it slashed down. With one slash, Yu Ye's soul was destroyed. Puff, Yu Ye's soul didn't even have time to scream before it was destroyed. After the soul was destroyed, the 2 halves of his body stopped struggling and fell into the void. The terrifying sea of blood surged, making a roaring sound that shook the heavens and the earth. The entire sky was dyed blood red, as if the end of the world had arrived. Everyone was stunned, unable to believe it. The prodigy of the Serene Night race had died, and he had been killed by Lin Xian so easily. This scene caused everyone to be extremely shocked, especially the ancient creatures of the Serene Night race. They let out crazed roars. No, you dare to kill him. You're dead. The Serene Feather race won't let you go. Damn it, I don't believe it. I definitely don't believe it. These people roared as if they had gone mad. A few of them rushed forward, wanting to attack Chu Feng. In the end, they were killed by Lin Xian's gaze. This scene caused the remaining archaic creatures to stop in their tracks. The other party was too strong. Lin Xian snorted coldly. He threw the 2 halves of the corpse in his hands to the ground. At the same time, his cold voice resounded in all directions. Remember, this guy isn't the first prodigy I've killed, and he won't be the last. Since he dared to challenge the human race, he must pay the corresponding price. Hearing this, the human race martial artists were extremely excited. They raised their arms and cheered. Lin Xian! Lin Xian! Central Emperor! Central Emperor. They were too excited, too excited. This battle would definitely make the human race proud. The Crimson Dragon also waved its dragon claw, opening a treasure bottle and directly storing the two halves of the corpse and the blood that filled the sky. Then he beamed with joy. This was great. These were all excellent cultivation resources. Kid, where are we going next? Lin Xian's eyes flashed. He turned his head to look at the people around him and asked in a low voice, who knew if there were other prodigies of the Archean era nearby? It was said that there were prodigies of the flying mantis race nearby, but he didn't know if they were still there. Someone said, there seemed to be prodigies of the green vine race in the Nine dynasty. Someone said another piece of news. Lin Xian nodded after hearing that. He tore the void and soared into the sky with the Crimson Dragon, leaving the imperial capital. Hurry up and follow. There might be an earth-shattering battle. The people in the imperial capital were extremely shocked. They also left the imperial capital one after another to search for Lin Xian. In an instant, most of the martial artists had left. A small number of people were crazily passing on the news. How could they not share such a shocking news? In the sky, the Archean creatures of the dark feather race were so angry that their bodies were trembling. Their prodigy had been killed, and even his corpse was taken away. How were they going to explain this when they returned? No, they had to report this to the elders. They had to kill that kid. They also tore the void and quickly left. The bustling imperial capital calmed down again. The elders and supreme existences in the palace naturally watched the battle as well. Their eyes flashed. Lin Xian was really impressive. He could kill an Archean prodigy so easily. His strength had definitely surpassed that of an ordinary Archean prodigy. He could stand up to an Archean royal prodigy. Chapter 28:16. Yes, as expected of one of the top prodigies of the human race. Humph. Everyone discussed. Of course, some sneered. He had killed so many Archean prodigies. Don't worry, the 10,000 Archean races won't let him off. Those who said that were naturally from the Empress faction. Now that Lin Xian was in the limelight and was so powerful, they naturally couldn't attack him directly. It seemed that they could only secretly contact the 10,000 Archean races and report Lin Xian's whereabouts to them. And that was exactly what they had done. Not long after, the news of Lin Xian killing the dark feather race's prodigy, Yu Yi, swept across the true spirit martial continent. In an instant, the world was in an uproar. Everyone was shocked. Another attack. Lin Xian killed another Archean prodigy. Heavens, he was too strong. Was he really going to dominate the world? I feel like the 10,000 Archean races are finished. With Lin Xian's strength, not many people could contend against him. Everyone was extremely excited and discussed spiritedly. When the 10,000 Archean races heard this, they gritted their teeth in anger. They swore that they would definitely find and kill him. However, not long after, another piece of news came. Yi Wudao fought a prodigy of the Blue Ghoul race and won easily. What? Yi Wudao also attacked? Everyone was even more shocked. There was also news from the Western Desert. Dustless fought a prodigy of the Lightning Blood race and successfully converted him into a Buddhist sect. This scene was even more shocking. An Archean prodigy was actually converted into a Buddhist sect. This was even more terrifying than killing him. This Dustless was seriously too terrifying. What kind of method did he use? Even those people of the older generation had faces full of fear. The 10,000 ancient races were also shocked. Damn it! Could this be the legendary and incomparably terrifying salvation scripture? Some of the grand elders of the sacred grounds were puzzled. The Sutra of Salvation was an extremely ancient ability. Legend had it that this cultivation technique didn't have much offensive power, but it could convert people. Once the Expiation Sutra came out, everything could be expiated and brought into Buddhism. From the looks of it now, Wu Chen was very likely to have mastered this ancient expiation scripture. The three titled heavenly talents had all made their moves. Everyone was looking forward to it. He wondered how South Emperor Yan Nantian was doing. Everyone was talking about it. However, they realized that Yan Nantian didn't send out much information. Could it be that he didn't make a move? These people were puzzled. As for that northern monster, he was too mysterious. He hadn't appeared yet. Eastern wilderness. In the middle of a mountain swamp, the earth split open and a black head appeared. In front of him sat a blue figure. The blue figure's eyes flickered as he spoke in a deep voice. Who would have thought that this Lin Xian would be so unexpected? Previously, he had conferred the title of Middle Emperor because he wanted to borrow the hands of the saints to kill him. Who would have thought that not only did they fail to kill him, but they even allowed him to grow stronger and stronger. Now, even the primordial geniuses were no match for him. What should we do? Should he use some more power to kill him? The black head asked. The blue figure shook his head. There's no need. The current situation is somewhat out of our control. This kid has too many secrets, other than the 9-yang divine body. There are even more terrifying secrets. His sword chi is too sharp. It's not something an ordinary sword king can release. Even a peerless sword technique shouldn't be able to do that. I suspect that he should have a very terrifying attack power. A very terrifying attack power. The black head was puzzled. The mysterious blue figure nodded. That's right. Think about it, the Eastern Wilderness sacred body is the descendant of a Dharch. There's a lot of blood in his body. Moreover, the sacred body is a terrifying physique. In addition, he's in the hands of a clan of the ancients. He must have the inheritance of a Dharch. It's natural that he's powerful. South Emperor had obtained the inheritance of a Dharch. Of course, he's terrifying. Wu Qin from the Western Desert was the reincarnation of an ancient Buddha. He had the memories of his previous life. The power of his bloodline was probably very terrifying. Moreover, the 1,000 Buddha temple also had the inheritance of a Dharch. These three people could be said to have powerful bloodlines and terrifying inheritances. But what about Lin Xian? It's true that Lin Xian had the 9-yang divine body, but that alone wasn't enough for him to fight against Yi Wudao and Yan Nantian, unless he also had the inheritance of a Dharch. The inheritance of a Dharch. You're saying that he has the inheritance of a Dharch. After hearing this, the black head was shocked. The inheritance of a Dharch? How tempting was that? It was something that only sacred grounds and aristocratic families with extreme weapons had. The other sacred grounds and great sects had never produced a Dharch. Naturally, they couldn't have such a powerful inheritance. Of course, people like Yan Nantian were very rare. The Yan family wasn't a Dharch family, but Yan Nantian was very lucky. When he was young, he had obtained the inheritance of a Dharch. There weren't many people in the true spirit world who had such luck. But now, Lin Xian actually had the inheritance of a Dharch. This was even more shocking. Then, which Thearch's inheritance do you think he obtained? Every great emperor specializes in a different domain. I can't think of a single great emperor who has such a strong attack power. You mean Dharch Shimin? The black head was shocked. Brother Shimin, the sword emperor of a generation, was extremely terrifying. Back then, his offensive power could be said to have swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. He was known as the Dharch with the most terrifying offensive power in 1,000,000 years. Rumor had it that he had fought his way into the immortal path and almost entered the immortal domain. Unfortunately, the immortal door hadn't opened in his era. Therefore, even though the Archshaman's combat power was heaven-defying, he still couldn't enter the immortal domain. In the end, his lifespan ran out and he died. There were too many legends about the Archshaman. His offensive power was very strong. When he had just entered the Sage Realm, he had caught an emperor weapon with his bare hands. When he became a great sage, he had already killed a quasi-emperor level peerless expert. In the end, after he became a half-emperor, there was a great dark turmoil. Terrifying tremors erupted in several forbidden lands. The true spirit world was in danger, and the human race was in danger. It was the Arch-Shaman. With a sword in the sky, he swept through all four directions and finally quelled the turmoil. It was said that the Arch-Shaman alone with a sword fought against several very terrifying enemies. In the end, he actually won. In fact, it had even scared away those terrifying existences. It could be said that in terms of offensive power, there really wasn't a Dharch who could compare to him. Dharch-Shaman's inheritance? It really made people jealous. If you can obtain before the black head finished speaking, the blue-robed figure in front of it burst out with a biting cold light. No hurry. I already have the inheritance of a Dharch. If he really has the inheritance of Dharch-Shaman, then I can play with him. I hope that he won't disappoint me. Chapter 28:17. At this point, the blue-robed man's voice became fainter and fainter until it disappeared. Lin Xian didn't know that he was being watched by someone who had almost discovered his secret. He was related to the Shaman Great Emperor, but he didn't obtain the Shaman Great Emperor's inheritance. Instead, he obtained something that the Shaman Great Emperor once had, the Great Dragon Sword Soul. Although the mysterious blue-robed man didn't guess it correctly, he was pretty close to the mark. If the blue-robed man spread the news, everyone in the world would probably attack him. Not only the 10,000 ancient races, but even the human race wouldn't be able to resist. After all, the Great Dragon Sword Soul was a terrifying existence. If he could obtain it, he could very well become the next Great Emperor. Lin Xian didn't know about all this. He was currently controlling the Black Earth to fly at full speed. He was looking for his next target. His target, this time, was the prodigy of the Green Vine race. The Green Vine race had an extraordinary origin. It was said that their ancestor was a natural green vine. After countless years of nurturing the chaos chi, he had cultivated to become a terrifying existence. Although they weren't a royal race, the Green Vine race was still very famous among the 10,000 ancient races. Boom! The void in front of them trembled as a terrifying force exploded, tearing the 9 heavens apart. Following that, several green rays of light shot into the sky, transforming into heavenly pillars that enveloped the Black Earth. The Black Earth shook violently and Lin Xian frowned. The dark red divine dragon let out a shrill cry. Holy sh*T, who is so reckless as to attack us? Lin Xian's eyes shone with golden light as he stared at the green light pillar. Then, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. Humph, it's the prodigy of the Green Vine group. He wanted to look for him, but he didn't expect him to come knocking on his door. That's right. Through his heavenly secret divine eyes, he discovered that the green light pillars weren't ordinary light pillars, but vines. However, they were too big and too bright. That was why they created such a scene. These vines were too terrifying. One of them whipped the Black Earth and sent it flying. Lin Xian, come out and face your death. At the same time, a cold voice sounded between heaven and earth. Inside the Black Earth, Lin Xian coldly snorted. Then his figure flashed and he walked out. He looked at the huge vines in the sky and said coldly, "Are you Qing Mu from the Green Vine clan?" "That's right, I'm Greenwood. Since you dared to kill one of my primordial geniuses, today is the day you die." Even as the voice echoed out, more and more vines appeared. Soon, everything for hundreds of thousands of kilometers was completely covered by vines. Today is the day you die. In the sky, those terrifying vines flickered with incomparable light, transforming into long spears that pierced towards Lin Xian. These vines were too terrifying. They were even more terrifying than heaven-tier treasures. There were cyan runes on it. That was the terrifying power of the bloodline. Behind them, the human warriors who had followed Lin Xian to watch the battle immediately stopped when they saw this scene. They retreated madly. Not good, retreat quickly. It's the peerless genius of the Green Vine clan. Oh heavens, they're fighting again. The Green Vine clan is so terrifying. The human warriors behind them were like small boats in the wind. Although they were so far away, they still felt a wave of fear. In the face of such a terrifying attack, Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. He punched out, and the terrifying fist illuminated the surroundings. It was like a sun that blasted away the surrounding vines. At the same time, he waved his arm, and streaks of sword qi slashed forward. These sword qi were incomparably sharp. They cut through heaven and earth and slashed forward. In an instant, many of the surrounding vines were cut in half by the sword qi and fell from the sky. Damn it! Seeing this scene, Qing Mu frowned. He snorted coldly, and the surrounding vines became even more terrifying. Above them, runes rotated and quickly resisted the surrounding sword qi. Between heaven and earth, there was an intense collision. Large cracks were everywhere, and terrifying black holes were formed. With the two of them as the center, an invisible force spread out in all directions. The surrounding mountains, rivers, and trees all collapsed and ceased to exist. Their attacks were too terrifying. It was as if they were going to destroy the world. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a piercing light. His aura also rose instantly. He was like a peerless sword god, getting sharper and sharper. In the sky full of stars and vines, a man in a green robe walked out. His face was cold, and his aura was terrifying. It was the peerless sky pride of the Green Vine clan, Qing Mu. A long green whip appeared in his hand, and he threw it forward. With a swing of the whip, the sky collapsed, and the earth cracked. Lin Xian used the yin-yang 8 steps. Within 8 steps, his speed was extremely fast, and he quickly dodged the green whip. At the same time, he drew the ancient Dragon Abyss sword and released streaks of terrifying sword qi, slashing forward. Clang! Clang! Their weapons clashed in the sky, and it was a terrifying sight. Qing Mu's face was gloomy. He was furious and wanted to kill the human in front of him, but after exchanging blows with his opponent, he was still extremely shocked. His opponent was too powerful. After exchanging a few blows, the blood in his body was boiling and his arm was numb. His opponent was indeed powerful to be able to kill so many Archean Sky Prides. However, he would not lose. As the Sky Pride of the Green Vine clan, he was powerful. More importantly, his vitality was vigorous, and he had an extremely strong recovery ability. It could be said that it was impossible to kill him, unless those terrifying sacred leaders and sect leaders killed him in one blow. Otherwise, as long as he was still alive, he would not die. This was the terrifying part of the Green Vine clan and also his trump card. So now he attacked crazily without regard for anything else. Boom! 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 Winds and clouds changed between heaven and earth. Energy surged, and the sun, moon, and stars dimmed. The whip in Qing Mu's hand seemed to have transformed into a green dragon, bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. Hundreds of thousands of miles away, the human experts were watching the battle through various secret techniques. They were extremely nervous, because they realized that Qing Mu was even more terrifying than Yu Yi from before. Moreover, they knew that the Green Vine clan had an extremely strong recovery ability, so they were extremely nervous. Not only were they watching, but the experts of the Nine-Li dynasty were also paying close attention. Apart from these humans, more than 10 Archean creatures were also gathered in a certain city of the Nine-Li dynasty. They stood with their heads behind their backs, looking up at the sky. Not a single human dared to take a step into their surroundings. At this moment, these people were also paying attention to the situation above. That person was Lin Xian of the Central Emperor. He was indeed powerful. Chapter 28:18. His sword qi was simply too sharp. Moreover, his defense was unparalleled. No wonder he could kill so many Archean prodigies. One of the Archean creatures had a gloomy expression. It seemed that the human race still had some prodigies. The other person sneered. So what? How dare he be so arrogant in front of the 10,000 Archean races? He's definitely dead, the third person said. Originally, they wanted to let the Archean royal prodigies deal with him, but they didn't expect him to encounter the Greenwood prodigies. Don't worry, he's definitely dead. The one who spoke was also an Archean creature from the Green Vine race. The other Archean creatures all turned their heads. Oh, could it be that Brother Greenwood is confident this time? Of course. The Archean creature from the Green Vine race had a proud expression. This time, Brother Greenwood brought the Greenwood sword. Greenwood sword? You mean that terrifying half-saint weapon? That's right, it's that half-saint weapon. When the surrounding human cultivators heard this, they were extremely puzzled. So what if he had a half-saint weapon? Lin Xian had one too. Moreover, in the previous battles, prodigies of their level rarely used half-saint weapons. Because both sides had them, it was useless to take them out. They might as well use their own strength. But now, it seemed that these Archean creatures were so confident. Could it be that there was something special about this half-saint weapon? They didn't know, but thinking about it, they should be able to see it soon. Buzz in the sky, an extremely powerful energy fluctuation flickered, causing everyone to feel a sense of oppression. What's that? Everyone exclaimed when they realized that there was an ancient green sword in Greenwood's hand. It had a very simple appearance, and green light flowed on it. There were Dao runes on it, and it was incomparably dazzling. It was a half-saint weapon, an extremely terrifying half-saint weapon. Everyone exclaimed because only half-saint and saint weapons could have Dao runes on them. Half-saint weapon? Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He also had a half-saint weapon and more than one. He even had the saint's hand bone and the flower protector. It was just that he hadn't used them before. Seeing that his opponent had used a half-saint weapon, Lin Xian sneered. With a wave of his hand, the 9-story pagoda appeared beside him. It emitted a terrifying aura. Another half-step Saint Tool had appeared. The 2 semi-sage tools surged in the sky. Dreadful Dao patterns flickered and formed an incomparably terrifying storm that swept out in all directions. Is this your trump card? But it's useless against me. Lin Xian frowned as he looked at the other party. Kid, you've underestimated me, and you've underestimated our Green Vine clan. Do you think this is just an ordinary half-saint tool? Today, I'll show you how powerful it is. Boom! Boom! As he spoke, the ancient azure sword in his hand suddenly blossomed with incomparable light, causing the surroundings to rapidly tremble. An extremely terrifying power burst out from his body. At this moment, everyone's blood surged, their faces pale, as if their bodies were penetrated. What a terrifying sword energy! This Qingmu was actually a peerless sword king. Why do I feel that his sword aura isn't any weaker than Lin Xian's? 2 great sword kings fighting? It was truly earth-shattering. Everyone discussed as they quickly retreated, because the aura in front of them was becoming more and more terrifying. It directly turned into a sky full of azure light that rushed into the 9 heavens and blasted out in all directions. The powerful figures of the 9 Li dynasty also raised their heads, their faces full of shock, because this sword energy was too terrifying, as if it could destroy everything. Within the city, the eyes of the archaic creatures also flickered. As expected of the Greenwood sword, it was indeed powerful. The archaic creatures of the Greenwood clan were even more proud. That was natural. With the Greenwood sword, it was enough to threaten the prides of the archaic royal family. It would definitely be able to kill that kid. Boom! The Greenwood sword slowly raised and then slashed forward. Suddenly, the entire world was distorted, and endless azure light covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. At this moment, they couldn't see anything. They could only see the peerless sword light shining. Not good, run. Some of the people who were too close were affected by the green sword light. They ran madly, but it was still too late. Some people were directly swept by the azure sword light, and their bodies were split into dozens of pieces. Some were directly pierced through and nailed to the ground. Some were cut into a bloody mist by the sword and no longer existed. It was too terrifying. These people were all experts, but at this moment, they couldn't even block the aftermath of the sword energy. On the human side, some of the saints frowned. No, was a half-saint artifact so powerful? One had to know that a half-saint artifact was very terrifying. Only some of the top invincible kings could use it at full strength. It would be difficult for them to use its full power in their hands. However, the half-saint artifact in the opponent's hand was too powerful. It was as if it wasn't used by a young genius, but by a sacred lord. What was going on? Damn it, this Qingting clan was really strange. No wonder they dared to use a half-saint artifact. These people's faces were gloomy, and they didn't know how Lin Xian would deal with it. In the middle ground, the princes of the dynasties had also come, and even the prince of the great Xia dynasty had also come. His eyes shone with a piercing light as he stared at the battle. He was also very curious about how Lin Xian would deal with it. Although he hadn't fought with Qingmu before, there was a very terrifying genius in the royal family who had fought with him. Although that genius wasn't as strong as him, he was also a very terrifying genius in the royal family. However, he still lost to Qingmu. It was the greenwood sword in the opponent's hand that had defeated the genius of the royal family. Therefore, the prince of the great Xia dynasty became very serious when facing the greenwood sword. Lin Xian was also surrounded by countless azure sword energy, and when it hit his body, it made sonorous, thunderous sounds. Endless flames pierced through all directions, forming terrifying black holes one after another. His eyes became a terrifying golden color, as if they were going to devour people. Competing with sword energy? How interesting! He didn't expect that his opponent was also a sword king, and such a terrifying one at that. Coupled with this half-saint artifact, it was really terrifying. However, when had he ever been afraid of others in the sword Dao? Humph! With a cold snort, terrifying sword energy erupted from his body and swept through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. The sword energy took the shape of a dragon and rushed into the sky as if 10,000 dragons were roaring. The dragon's roar resounded through the 9 heavens and 10 lands. At this moment, Lin Xian's figure became more and more resplendent. Even though there were thousands of azure sword lights, everyone could still see him clearly. At this moment, all the warriors, including the humans, the ancient creatures, and the older generation experts, looked up at the sky. Heavens, what was that? When they saw the scene, they were extremely shocked. It was Lin Xian. Was he going to make a move? Chapter 2819. That's right, it was indeed Lin Xian. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely powerful, causing everyone's bodies to tremble. He seemed to have transformed into a peerless sword god. In front of him, there was a dragon-shaped sword shadow that appeared and suppressed the surroundings. What was that? The archaic creatures in the distance screamed. Qingmu's pupils also constricted because he felt a terrifying aura from the dragon-shaped sword shadow. That aura could still pose a threat to him. The other human experts, saint sons, and geniuses all exclaimed in surprise. It was that dragon-shaped sword shadow again. They knew that Lin Xian had an extremely terrifying dragon-shaped sword shadow. Back then, he had even gathered countless powers to split open the nest of 10,000 dragons. It could be said that it was extremely strange and terrifying. Until now, they still hadn't figured out what that dragon-shaped sword shadow was. However, that didn't stop them from being terrified of it. After Lin Xian displayed the dragon-shaped sword shadow, the aura on his body rose infinitely, and the entire world trembled with him. Tens of thousands of sword lights swept in all directions. Buzz! Lin Xian reached out his palm and grabbed the dragon-shaped sword shadow. He waved his long sword and pointed it forward. Boom! 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 Dragon roars sounded one after another. In the distance, Qing Mu's body trembled, and a hint of fear appeared in his eyes. He felt that what his opponent was holding wasn't a sword, but a dragon. It was an incomparably terrifying dragon. Moreover, the dragons might emitted from it suppressed his soul and bloodline. Damn it! Qing Mu's expression was extremely ugly. He originally thought that after he took out his Qing Mu sword, he could easily kill his opponent. However, he didn't expect his opponent to have such a terrifying thing. Moreover, it seemed to be even more terrifying than his Qing Mu sword. At this moment, his Qing Mu sword began to tremble rapidly, as if it couldn't resist at all. Everyone was terrified when they saw this. Even such a terrifying saint artifact couldn't resist it? This Lin Xian was really terrifying. No, damn it, I don't believe it. I can't lose to you. Qing Mu angrily roared. Green light blossomed from his body, and the Qing Mu sword in his hand emitted an incomparably sharp light. Around him, green vines quickly intertwined. Crawling under his feet, activating the power of his bloodline, a green plant appeared between his eyebrows, emitting a terrifying aura. At this moment, his strength had increased once again. Die for me! With a furious roar, tens of thousands of cyan sword lights crisscrossed, causing everyone to panic. The dreadful green sword light slashed out, and the heaven and earth were split into pieces. This was the power of a semi-sage tool. It was accompanied by countless Tao patterns in the sky. On the other side, Lin Xian also snorted coldly as he activated his sword soul and released a dragon-shaped sword chi. It was like a giant dragon dancing in the sky. The two sword chis collided in the air, erupting with unparalleled power. Boom! Boom! The sword light that filled the sky rumbled, tearing apart the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The impact of that energy caused all the surrounding experts to vomit blood. Their faces were filled with terror. It was too terrifying. Of these two people, one had an incomparably terrifying sword shadow that seemed no different from a true dragon. The other was able to use a semi-sage tool to such a terrifying extent, far surpassing the younger generation. It could be said that these two were both monsters. Even an invincible king wouldn't dare to casually step forward in such a battle. This was because a single shockwave was enough to kill them. Boom! Boom! In the sky, the two divine swords collided 9 times. The entire heaven and earth were filled with countless large cracks. On the 9th collision, Qing Mu's arm was cut off. The Qing Mu sword in his hand flew into the sky, trembling nonstop. Boom! As for Qing Mu, his expression was incomparably ugly. This was because not only his arm, but his entire body was also filled with cracks. His opponent's sword chi was too cold. Even if he could use a semi-sage tool to a terrifying extent, it was still very difficult for him to resist it. He found it hard to believe. Damn it! He quickly retreated. Countless vines intertwined on his body, forming a green sea in front of him to block the sword chi. The green vines surged, emitting an incomparably terrifying power. However, they only blocked it for an instant. In the next moment, all the vines were cut apart, turning into spirit chi that dissipated between heaven and earth. However, this was enough for Qing Mu. He had already retreated tens of thousands of miles away. Blood flowed wildly from his body. Aoki was injured. Aoki was injured. Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. Especially the ancient creatures, they were even more shocked. That was Qing Mu, who was incomparably powerful. Moreover, he had used the Qing Mu sword. One had to know that the Qing Mu sword had been nourished by Qing Mu's blood for many years. Although it was a semi-sage tool, Qing Mu could unleash energy that far surpassed what a young genius could use. It could be said that if other geniuses encountered Qingmu, they wouldn't have any chance of survival. But now, Qingmu was actually injured, while his opponent was completely unharmed. This was truly unbelievable. Damn it, what exactly was that dragon-shaped sword shadow? Could it be that it was also a semi-sage tool? Or could it be a sage tool? Impossible. With that kid's strength, he still couldn't use a complete sage tool. It should be a special kind of accompanying saint artifact. The ancient creatures' faces were incomparably gloomy. The human powerhouses were also discussing animatedly. Qingmu was so angry that his entire body trembled. He had never felt that his life was in danger like today. He couldn't bear it anymore. In the next moment, he roared crazily. The green light flashed and healed all his wounds. Buzz! He was completely unharmed. Damn kid! I'll let you know the price of injuring me. Qingmu once again walked over like a god fiend. What? Unharmed? How did he do it? How terrifying was Lin Xian's sword qi? He was actually able to recover in an instant. Those people were extremely shocked. They only knew how terrifying Lin Xian's sword qi was. As long as one was hit by it, it would probably be very difficult to erase it. However, Qingmu actually had such power. Even Lin Xian was extremely surprised. He narrowed his eyes. The other party was actually able to destroy the inextinguishable aura of the great dragon sword soul. He had to admit that it was truly shocking. At this moment, the Crimson Dragon transmitted his voice. Kid, he's from the Green Vine clan. The vitality of the Green Vine clan was extremely strong. It could be said that they were immortal and indestructible. As long as they had a drop of blood, they would be able to play with endless. This was their bloodline talent. You have to be careful. Bloodline talent? How magical! Lin Xian was extremely surprised. It seemed that the other party's bloodline wasn't about fighting strength, but recovery. This was beyond his expectations. It was really the first time he had seen an ancient creature with such tenacious vitality. However, so what if it was tenacious? If a drop of blood could regenerate, then he would destroy all of the other party's blood. Let's see how you're going to be reborn. Lin Xian's eyes exploded with a piercing cold light. Chapter 28:20. His opponent was indeed very powerful, and his regenerative ability was a headache for many prodigies. However, that was not a problem for Lin Mu. He had more than one way to kill Lin Mu. In the next moment, he snorted coldly and quickly charged out. The terrifying sword light exploded again. Terrifying cracks appeared in the sky one after another, spreading into the distance with terrifying and indestructible power. Kill! Qingmu also charged forward. He released his bloodline power and swung the greenwood sword in his hand. The two of them clashed again. However, this time, Qingmu was defeated even more miserably. His body was sliced apart again at the waist. Ah, I don't believe it. Heal! His bloodline power erupted, and his body healed once again with a powerful life force recovery ability. However, not long after, his body was cut open again. This time he was cut into 4 pieces. Lin Xian looked down like a god fiend. Let's see how many times you can heal. As he spoke, the sword qi on his body became even more dazzling. Everyone was stunned when they saw that. He was too powerful. The terrifying prodigy of the Green Vine race was suppressed even when he used the greenwood sword. His body was cut open many times. If it were not for his strong regenerative ability, he would have been killed long ago. Even so, Qingmu would not be able to hold on for long. After all, he only had a strong regenerative ability, but he was not truly immortal. As expected after the 20th recovery, Qingmu's face was abnormally pale. His bloodline power had weakened, and he did not have much energy left in his body. After all, Every time he recovered, he had to consume a large amount of bloodline power to resist the indestructible sword intent of the dragon sword soul. When he was cut open for the 21st time, Qing Mu's expression changed. Qing Mu's expression finally changed. He knew that the young man before him was stronger than him. He did not dare to continue fighting, because if he continued fighting, he would probably be killed here. Therefore, the next moment he gritted his teeth and said, "Kid, I'll let you be proud this time. The next time we meet, I'll definitely kill you with my sword." As soon as he finished speaking, his body swayed and he quickly flew into the distance. Seeing that, everyone was shocked. Qing Mu had escaped. Could it be that Qing Mu had been defeated? Heavens, the terrifying Green Vine clan, a genius with such vigorous vitality, had actually been defeated. His opponent's sword chi was too terrifying. "You want to leave? Can you leave?" Lin Xian sneered as he watched the other party flee. Greenwood roared angrily, "Damn brat, don't be too arrogant. Although your sword chi is terrifying, you won't be able to kill me in a short period of time. So quickly stop. Otherwise, don't blame me for going all out." Seeing that the other party was still intending to make a move, Qing Mu roared furiously. He was already sullen enough after his defeat today. Now his opponent wanted to continue hunting him down. How could he tolerate this? "Do you think you're very strong? Do you think I can't kill you just because you're full of vitality? Do you think I only have sword techniques?" Lin Xian sneered and quickly formed a seal with his palms. One after another, profound palm prints appeared. Soon, a pair of golden eyes appeared in the sky, looking down at the earth like a god. As soon as the golden eye appeared, the people below began to tremble. Their souls trembled, and they couldn't help but want to kowtow. "Damn it, what is that?" That was especially true for those ancient life forms. They were terrified. That pair of golden eyes was simply too cold. Greenwood also felt that he was enveloped by a strange energy. In the next moment, he screamed in pain. Not good. It was a soul attack. He screamed crazily. He didn't expect the other party to have such a terrifying method. His soul was ignited and burned crazily. The pain made him despair and terrified. Although he was from the Green Vine race and had strong recovery abilities, that only referred to the recovery ability of the physical body, not the recovery ability of the soul. Therefore, once his soul was damaged, it would be very difficult for him to recover. He might even be killed. The heavenly secret divine eyes were too powerful. In addition, Lin Xian used it with all his might. The power of the soul burning made Greenwood unable to resist at all. Soon he fell from the sky. His eyes were empty. It was obvious that he had been killed. No. When the 10,000 ancient races saw this scene, they screamed crazily and rushed over. Especially the immemorial creatures of the Green Vine race. They roared crazily. After a round of investigation, they were dumbstruck. Greenwood was dead. Their clan's genius had actually been killed by someone. How was this possible? One had to know that Greenwood's physical body had been shattered more than 20 times, but he could still revive. He even had the strength to fight. Now his physical body was fine, but his soul was directly destroyed. Damn it, this kid was actually a soul expert. They couldn't accept this fact at all. The other immemorial creatures were also terrified when they saw this scene. The other party's methods were too strange, especially the soul attack. It was impossible to guard against. This made them extremely shocked. The human race's cultivators were also shocked. Dead. Another primordial prodigy had died. Lin Xian was too powerful. That's right. How many archaic prodigies had been killed already? He was too dazzling. It would be difficult for him to live long. Some people had grave expressions. Indeed, Lin Xian was too dazzling. Such a human prodigy would definitely cause the 10,000 ancient races to be wary. It probably wouldn't be long before the true experts of the 10,000 ancient races arrived and secretly killed Lin Xian to prevent future troubles. In truth, the human race's experts guessed correctly. After the 10,000 ancient races received this news, they immediately began to secretly discuss. This youth was too abnormal. He probably had the potential to become a young great emperor. They didn't expect that there would be someone else besides a saint physique with such terrifying strength. He had to be eliminated. Otherwise, if he was allowed to grow, he would become an unimaginable enemy. The elders and experts of the 10,000 ancient races discussed and decided to immediately eliminate Lin Xian. Although Lin Xian was strong and had heaven-defying talent, he was different from Yi Daodenier. Behind Yi Daodenier stood the primordial aristocratic families. They had extreme weapons that could suppress everything. For the time being, they didn't dare to make a move. After all, if they angered the Yi family, and the Yi family activated their extreme weapons, the 10,000 ancient races wouldn't be able to resist. Only the theocrats would be able to resist. Therefore, unless it was absolutely necessary, they didn't dare to make a move against Yi Daodenier, unless no one had a handle on him. But Lin Xian was different. Although he was also the master of a mortal palace, they hadn't heard that a mortal palace had any extreme weapons. So what if a mortal palace was angry if they killed him? The 10,000 ancient races were powerful. How could they fear a mortal palace? For a time, several true experts of the 10,000 ancient races moved out. Their target was Lin Xian. This time, they wanted to kill him in one strike and eliminate all future troubles. Chapter 28-21. After Lin Xian killed the prodigy of the green vine race, Qingmu, he went on his way. Next, he killed 2 more primordial prodigies. In an instant, the world was in an uproar. Everyone, especially the primordial prodigies, was in a state of panic because the other party was too powerful. The humans were also shocked. They guessed that Lin Xian should have the strength of the primordial royal race. Otherwise, it would be impossible for him to kill so many primordial prodigies. A royal prodigy? It was really shocking. The faces of the older generation were filled with amazement. Lin Xian, you brat, wash your neck and wait for me to kill you. At this moment, a shocking piece of news came from the horizon. In an instant, the world was shocked. Who dared to say such words at this time? It was the primordial royal race. The primordial royal race was about to make a move. Everyone was shocked because they realized that the person who said that was from the South Sea Divine crocodile race. The South Sea Divine crocodile race had just recovered recently and was extremely powerful, surpassing the primordial race like the Silver Lightning race. It was a lineage of the primordial royal race. And this time, the person who said that was a prodigy of the South Sea Divine crocodile race. Was the primordial royal race finally going to make a move on Lin Xian? In 7 days, I'll be waiting for you at the Sunset Peak. Lin Xian said such words. He boarded the Black Master and headed to the Sunset Peak. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Lin Xian to really dare to accept the challenge. It was really a shocking battle. A golden age. A top prodigy. Who was stronger, the humans or the primordial royal race? Everyone was shocked. The primordial creatures were also interested and headed to the Dawnfall Peak. As for the humans, they swarmed over in droves. Even Yi Wudao, the prince of the great Xia dynasty, the Alcade sage, and the others rushed over. Many primordial races had come out, but this was the first time a prodigy of the primordial royal race was fighting in front of everyone. Perhaps this was an extremely good opportunity to obtain information, to investigate and sense just what level of strength the prides of the ancient royal family had reached. The words of the 2 geniuses shook the entire world. Countless experts gathered at the Dawnfall Peak. Lin Xian took the Black Earth and arrived at the Sunset Peak early. Although the Sunset Peak was only a mountain peak, it was incomparably vast and it stretched for hundreds of thousands of kilometers. Within the surrounding mountain ranges, countless figures could be seen flashing about. Lin Xian had even chosen the tallest peak and sat down cross-legged, absorbing the essence of the world, sun and moon as he cultivated silently. The ancient royal family battle? To be honest, he was looking forward to it. The first 6 days had been very quiet. Although there were more and more people around, no one made a ruckus. They waited patiently. On the 7th day, an extremely terrifying whistling sound suddenly came from the horizon. Following that, a large number of projections fell from the sky, as if dark clouds were pressing down. Accompanying it was an extremely terrifying aura that overflowed into the heavens. Here it comes. At this moment, all the martial artists and ancient life forms in the surrounding hundreds of thousands of miles of mountain range opened their eyes and looked up. Humph! Lin Xian, you brat, you really dared to come. A cold laugh came from the sky. This voice shattered the world. The ground cracked, the sky was pierced, and black holes appeared one after another. How terrifying! Just an aura was able to create such a terrifying scene. Was this the strength of an ancient royal family genius? It was really too terrifying. There were probably not many people in the younger generation who could compete with him. Everyone trembled, especially the human race martial artists. They were terrified. The 10,000 ancient races were simply too strong. Even the primordial life forms were stunned. But soon they clenched their fists. Great, the royal family genius had made a move. This time they must kill him. That's right, what emperor of the human race? In front of the 10,000 ancient races, he was just an ant-like existence. Just you wait, this time you humans will definitely lose. These ancient life forms were very arrogant. They were high and mighty, and no human martial artists dared to step into their territory. When everyone heard this, they fell silent, because they didn't know what the final outcome of this battle would be. However, Lin Xian's supporters quickly counterattacked. What was so great about that? That's right, it wasn't the first time they'd heard that. Previously, those ancient prodigies were also very arrogant. But weren't they still killed by God Lin Xian? What did you say? You're courting death. Those ancient life forms were enraged. Lin Xian's supporters snorted coldly. What's wrong? They were killed, but they didn't allow others to say anything. You ancient life forms are too domineering. That's right, don't be arrogant here if you have the ability. Go and compete with God Lin Xian. Let's see if you can block his sword energy. You're courting death. Several ancient life forms were enraged on the spot. They reached out with their palms, covering the sky and the sun. They were like ancient demon mountains that pressed down. They wanted to crush those who spoke into pieces. Those human martial artists were terrified. The other party was too terrifying. In an instant, their bodies stiffened. Of course, there were also people who roared and used their artifacts, preparing to fight to the death. Just as the battle was about to erupt, a cold snort was heard. A golden light in the sky cut through the void like a sharp sword, blocking everyone. Watch the battle carefully. A cold voice sounded. There were only a few words, but everyone's scalp went numb, and they didn't dare to say anything else. Even those ancient life forms were stunned. They seemed to have a feeling of suffocation. This kind of feeling only appeared when they faced the ancient royal family. Damn it, who was it? They looked up at the sky. In the sky, there was a golden figure. It was the human race's Saint Physique. Instead, it was Leaf Daudenier. A wisp of light on his body directly suppressed those people. This was especially true for suppressing these ancient creatures. Those ancient life forms withdrew their power and didn't attack again. On the other side, the human martial artists also breathed a sigh of relief. Yi Wudao was here. He was indeed powerful. As expected of Eastern sage, he was powerful. Just a wisp of his aura was enough to suppress those ancient life forms. It was really a golden age. On the other side, a whistling sound rang out. The chaotic chi in the sky flickered, turning into a terrifying chaotic light. It carried a peerless beauty and slowly descended. The saintess of all beginnings. It was her. That woman was getting more and more terrifying. Everyone was discussing again. The Tao that could be spoken was not the Tao. Accompanied by the ethereal voice, a majestic figure descended. There were mysterious runes flickering around him one after another. It was really terrifying. Tao-yi sage, everyone exclaimed, and the pupils of those ancient life forms shrank. The appearance of these human sky prides was simply too terrifying. Chaotic chi and innate Tao patterns had both appeared. It was really shocking. It wasn't over yet. After the saintess of all beginnings, Tao-yi sage, and the others, a few more figures descended from the sky. They were all human prodigies. One of them was surrounded by a dazzling divine light. He was like a fiend god that had come into being, suppressing everyone until they couldn't breathe. Chapter 28-22. That person was none other than the Alcade Saint. The other person had the shadow of a phoenix on her body. She was suppressing the primordial creatures, causing their blood to freeze. Damn it, what a powerful bloodline. How could the human race have such a bloodline? They were shocked as they looked at the figure in horror. The figure was incomparably flickering, and her body was surrounded by a terrifying light. A faint shadow of a phoenix circled around her. The other human warriors also exclaimed in surprise. The Jade Lake Saintess! The Jade Lake Saintess had arrived! Rumor had it that she had a mysterious bloodline. They did not expect it to be the Phoenix bloodline. Yes, it was impossible in the past. Now that the 10,000 Archean races had appeared, the Jade Lake Saintess bloodline had finally reappeared in the world. It was the terrifying Phoenix bloodline. That's right, the person who had arrived was Morong Qingqing. Her Phoenix bloodline was fully activated at this moment, causing her strength to undergo an earth-shattering change. Sister Miss Seductress. On the other side, purple clouds churned. A beautiful woman rode on a purple cloud and descended quickly. She was like a fairy in the mortal world. Saintess Xixia. She actually had a heavenly spiritual body. Among the primordial creatures, a few primordial geniuses screamed as if they had seen a ghost. The humans were also shocked. What? Saintess Xixia actually had a heavenly spiritual body? Heavens. Heavenly spiritual bodies were similar to Taoist bodies. They were close to heaven and earth and were not weaker than heavenly spiritual bodies. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect Xin Jingqiu to have a terrifying heavenly spiritual body. Lin Xian was really heaven-defying. His two female companions actually had such terrifying physiques. Everyone naturally knew the relationship between Morong Qingqing, Shen Jingqiu, and Lin Xian. This caused everyone to be speechless. That was because Lin Xian himself possessed the 9-yang divine body. The people around him were also terrifying. That dark red snake was not a snake but a dragon. The two female companions beside him both had heaven-defying physiques, and he even had a friend like Yi Wudao. It could be said that he was really strong to the peak. However, there were also elders who shook their heads and sighed. Too strong was easy to break. Perhaps this time, this Lin Xian of Zhonghuang was really in danger. The other holy sons, holy daughters, and sky prides fell silent. The archaic creatures sneered again and again. In the sky, the huge projections became more and more terrifying. They were like ancient demonic mountains that pressed down in all directions. Those who were weaker could not withstand it at all. Their bodies trembled, and even the saints and geniuses turned pale. Boom! Boom! The terrifying dark clouds churned and tore apart as a giant head poked out. The head was larger than a mountain, and its terrifying eyes were emitting a merciless light. He stared at the human warriors below. This time around, there are quite a number of saints and geniuses. However, you bunch of trash can't even withstand a single blow from me. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and grabbed downwards. This palm was simply too terrifying. It covered a radius of tens of thousands of miles. As it pressed down, the void collapsed completely. Boom! Boom! The 5 elements Saint Sun and the 10,000 thunder Saint Sun both vomited blood and flew backward. The freedom Saint Sun also trembled and flew backward. It was too terrifying. These holy sons and holy daughters were originally the top sky prides of the human race. However, at this moment, they were nothing in front of the archaic royal sky prides. Humph, what a bunch of trash! The Silver Lightning tribe, Fire Cloud tribe, and Tingo tribes, sky prides sneered. The human race's faces were extremely ugly. Damn it, they were too arrogant. The other party actually dared to attack their sky prides. Yi Wu Dao, the Alcade Saint, the great Xia Prince Wu Qin, and the others snorted coldly. Their eyes emitted a cold light as if they were about to attack. However, at this moment, a few more terrifying rays of light came from the sky. Buzz! A blood-red moon appeared in the sky, dyeing the entire sky blood-red. The light emitted by the moon made everyone's hearts turn cold. Even their blood seemed to freeze. Not good, it's another archaic royal, the human race exclaimed. They knew that it was the Blood Moon tribe, which was also an archaic royal. It seemed that the Blood Moon tribe's sky prides had also come out. The archaic creatures also trembled. Many of them even prostrated themselves on the ground. They had no choice. In the face of an archaic royal, they also had to submit. The blood-red moon in the sky rotated slowly, emitting a terrifying aura. One of the rays of light flew towards the Reverence Moon Saint, courting death. The Reverence Moon Saint's face changed instantly. However, he soon let out a roar. Even if it meant risking the Reverence Moon Sect's honor, he would still attack. How could he escape in front of so many human sky prides and experts? With a furious roar, he unleashed all of his power without holding back. A full moon also appeared behind her. The source of the Reverence Moon Sect's power was the moon. Therefore, they also cultivated the moon cultivation technique. At this moment, the full moon behind him and the blood-red moon collided rapidly. With a loud boom, heaven and earth shook. Countless large cracks appeared. Puff! The Reverence Moon Saint vomited a mouthful of blood and was sent flying. He fainted on the spot. The full moon that he had unleashed was smashed into pieces. The blood-red moon was completely undamaged. The light on it became even more demonic. What? It couldn't even block one attack? The human cultivators were horrified. The people of the Reverence Moon Sect exclaimed in shock and hurriedly rescued the Reverence Moon Saint. Everyone's face turned ugly. The Reverence Moon Saint was in existence at the level of a saint. How could he not even block one attack from the opponent? Was the gap between them that big? These people were filled with despair. There were so many of them. How many of them would die in this battle? It would be best if all of them died. All of your souls are mine. The surrounding people trembled. Such a strange voice rang in their ears, making their scalps tingle. Even the archaic creatures were terrified. The sky pride of the Blue Devil clan was here. Damn it, don't kill me. They were terrified. There was no other way. The Blue Devil clan was an archaic royal family. They were cruel by nature. They loved to collect soul stones. Anyone who was targeted by them, whether they were humans, demons, or 10,000 archaic creatures, could not escape. It could be said that the Blue Devil was a terrifying killing god. TSK, a bunch of trash. A disdainful voice rang out. A blue figure appeared in the sky, confronting the blood-red moon. The other party did not emit any strange scene. He just stood there. His body was blue, as if he was made of blue crystal. His face was ferocious like a demon. There was a horn on his head and a pair of blue wings on his back. In his left hand was a black demonic banner, and in his right hand was a trident. His body emitted a biting cold aura that could make people faint with just a glance. He was the Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan. At this moment, the sky was divided into 3 parts. One part was blood red, and the blood red moon was slowly rotating. The other part was the Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan. The last part was pitch black clouds. Ahead was ferocious, letting out a terrifying roar. It was the Sky Pride of the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan. Chapter 28-23. The 3 Sky Prides of the far ancient royal family were chatting in the sky, but the aura they emitted shocked everyone. Was the Blood Moon clan that powerful? Take my fist! Below them, a golden light suddenly erupted from Yi Wudao's body, and a golden fist blasted towards the sky. You're courting death. An angry voice rang out, and the blood-red moon in the sky spun crazily. Then it came crashing down with the force of Mount Tai. Boom! When the 2 of them collided, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. A violent storm spread out in all directions with the 2 of them as the center. Not good, Dodge. Screams rang out. They were too close and they were about to be killed. At this moment, some of the elders of the Holy Lands took out their treasures and worked together to form a light screen. Only then did they manage to protect everyone. Otherwise, just the aftermath of this energy would be enough to kill most of the people present. They were saved. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief and looked up at the sky. They wanted to see the result. Yi Wudao retracted his fist and said indifferently, the Blood Moon clan was nothing more than this. He stood with his hands behind his back, looking calm. The blood-red moon in the sky spun continuously, and the terrifying killing intent was getting more and more terrifying. Amitabha, he wasn't the only one who moved. Dustless also chanted Buddhist scriptures and stood up. Buddhist light bloomed from his body, and he stared at the Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan. Little monk, how dare you have designs on me? I'll take your soul away today. The Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan laughed sinisterly. The soul-summoning banner in his hand moved quickly. Suddenly, countless vengeful spirits appeared, and a terrifying voice rang out. Everyone's scalps went numb, as if their souls were about to be pierced. Buzz, the living fossil elder, took out a treasure and froze it in midair. Only then was he able to protect everyone. Dustless faced all this with a calm expression. His fingers moved quickly, and all the light energy was stuck to his fingertip. It formed a very beautiful flower. Flower pinching finger, a Buddhist grand mystique. Many people screamed. The flower pinching finger was too terrifying, and it could destroy all attacks. As expected, the attack of the Blue Devil clan Sky Pride was destroyed by the flower pinching finger. What a strange mystique. The genius from the Blue Devil clan also frowned. Although it was just a simple move, he could sense how terrifying his opponent was. In the blink of an eye, the 2 royals were glaring at Leaf Daudenier, Dustless, and the others. The 2 of them were still fearless as they confronted each other. The atmosphere in the sky became more and more tense. The elders and experts of the human race joined forces to set up a formation that covered a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles to protect the lives of the spectators. Otherwise, no one would dare to watch such a shocking battle. These people were all experts from the great sects of the Holy Lands. The array that they brought out was truly terrifying. It could definitely protect everyone. In the sky, the giant head of the Southern Sea crocodile god also turned. He said, "Gentlemen, give me some face today. After I kill that brat, the 2 of you can make your move." The Sky Pride of the Blood Moon clan nodded coldly. The Sky Pride of the Blue Devil clan also smiled. Fine, fine. I'll give you face today and let you fight first." Their figures swayed. They stood on the clouds and looked down. Leaf Daudenier and Dustless retracted their gazes. Dustless chanted Amitabha and retreated as well. The 2 of them were still fearless. No matter when the battle started, they were ready to fight. However, now wasn't the time for them to make a move. Their gazes pierced through the clouds and looked into the distance. At the peak of the mountain, there was a young figure sitting cross-legged. Lin Xian sat on the peak with his eyes closed. His hands were forming hand seals, and his robes fluttered as if he were asleep. Endless spiritual energy was inhaled and exhaled with every breath he took. What had happened earlier didn't affect his cultivation. It was as if he'd already transcended the mortal world. Everyone's eyes were fixed on him. The sky pride of the Southern Sea Crocodile God clan did the same. He slowly turned his giant head and stared at the mountain below. "Kid, don't you think it's too late for you to cultivate now?" Two beams of piercing light shot out from his eyes and transformed into two flying swords. They pierced through the air and headed straight for Lin Xian. In the blink of an eye, they were right in front of Lin Xian. With a loud boom, the space around Lin Xian shattered rapidly. More than 10 large black holes appeared, bobbing up and down. However, Lin Xian still didn't react. He sat there as if he'd really fallen asleep. However, the mountain below him and himself weren't hurt at all. In fact, the two flying swords stopped completely when they were 1 meter away from him, as if they were caught by a pair of invisible hands. This scene stunned the Southern Sea Crocodile God clan. The others frowned as well. But Lin Xian opened his eyes. Stars flickered in his eyes as he looked in front of him. Instantly, the two flying swords turned into dust and scattered between heaven and earth. In the next moment, he slowly stood up, shook his robes, looked around, and said calmly, "I'll cultivate every day at this time. It won't change just because you're here. All right, you can make your move now." Lin Xian's voice was soft, but everyone heard it clearly. This scene shocked everyone, especially the archaic creatures. Their faces were filled with shock. He would cultivate every day, and it wouldn't change just because the archaic paragon had arrived. This meant that he didn't care about this battle at all. He was treating it as if it was nothing. Impossible. Shouldn't he be nervous and afraid? Damn it. This kid must be hiding something. The archaic creatures sneered. The humans were also shocked. It seemed that Lin Xian was full of confidence. "Kid, stop hiding. Don't pretend to be calm. I know you're scared because you're facing no one else but me. I'm a paragon of the archaic royal family. It's impossible for you to defeat me." The Southern Sea Crocodile God clan's voice was cold and emotionless. "I know that you're Lin Xian, one of the top paragons of the human race. You have the honor of the human race on your shoulders. Therefore, you can't run. You have to fight. However, I advise you to obediently admit defeat. You'll lose your honor and you'll be able to keep your life. But if you fight me, you won't even be able to keep your life. What's the use of honor then? So kneel down and kowtow to me. I'll spare your life." The Southern Sea Crocodile God clan seemed to have turned into a king, controlling the life and death of others. When the archaic creatures heard this, they laughed out loud. "Did you hear that? Kid, kneel down and beg for mercy. You're just an ant. How can you be a match for the archaic royal family?" There were quite a few archaic creatures who had come to spectate this time. At this moment, numerous voices rang out, sounding like mountain torrents as they shook the void. Chapter 28-24. Humph! A cold voice came from the sky. Lin Xian took a step forward and stood in the sky. "Beg you for mercy? You think too much. Today, I'll tell you that the human race cannot be bullied. Tit for tat." Although the two of them didn't roar crazily, the smell of gunpowder was very strong. One of them was a high and mighty royal genius who wanted to trample on the human race and never make a comeback. The other was a human genius who carried the reputation and hope of the human race. The meaning and impact of the battle between the two of them was very far-reaching. Therefore, at this moment, Countless pairs of eyes were watching from the sky. Even the sacred leader sects, supreme elders, and ancient powerhouses were watching. Although they weren't at the scene personally, they had already used arrays and various secret techniques to watch from afar. It could be said that the entire world was paying attention to this battle. Reckless guy, I'll let you know the consequences of going against me. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile Clan's genius. He revealed a sinister smile. There was no point in saying anything more. Let's fight. Lin Xian's body also emitted a biting cold light. The 9-yang divine body burned like the sun. Boom, 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 buzz. In the sky, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile Clan finally couldn't help but make a move. He stretched out a palm. This palm was too terrifying. It was like the palm of a giant spirit with terrifying energy. It pierced through heaven and earth and completely enveloped Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face was cold as he stood in the sky. At this moment, he seemed to have turned into an eternal being. The sword qi on his body also rushed out quickly. Rays of sword light shot into the sky. Clang, 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 clang. Just the shock wave alone shattered the clouds in the sky. Boom, 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 boom. Countless sword qi were blasted away and scattered in all directions. However, the giant spirit's palm was also blocked in midair and couldn't descend any further. This scene caused everyone to cry out in surprise. They were evenly matched. The human warriors heaved a sigh of relief. The ancient creatures' faces were gloomy. Damn it, he can actually fight against a royal genius. How is this possible? Brat, you have some ability. You were actually able to block my palm. However, it's a pity that I didn't use all of my strength in that palm strike. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile sneered. Is that so? No need to laugh. In a moment, you will discover that even if you use all your strength, you still won't be able to shake me in the slightest. Lin Xian's voice was steady, but the sword light on his body had become even more piercingly cold. The ancient dragon abyss sword was also pulled out by him. The terrifying sword qi spread out in all directions, as if a huge dragon had been awakened. You're courting death. The other party's arrogant attitude had truly angered him. The Southern Sea Godly Crocodile roared and struck out with his palm again. This time, the heavens fell and the earth cracked. It was as if a demonic god had gone mad. Heaven and earth shattered, experiencing a great destruction. Fortunately, the surroundings were still enveloped by the formation. Otherwise, such a terrifying attack would have long sunk the mountain range of hundreds of thousands of miles. As for the warriors below, other than those at the very top, the rest would be killed. Kill, Lin Xian roared and executed the yin-yang 8 steps. Along with the terrifying ancient sword, he charged forward. Sword after sword split the heavens and earth, colliding with the huge palms and exploding with unparalleled power. The two of them exchanged blows quickly, shaking the heavens and the earth. In the sky, the huge body rotated, and every strike could kill an elite. Even the unrivaled kings didn't dare to get close. However, Lin Xian was able to deal with it calmly. His speed was simply too fast, so fast that it was dazzling to the eyes. Very few people were able to capture his movements. The others couldn't see it clearly at all. They could only see huge cracks appearing one after another. The Southern Sea Godly Crocodile roared crazily. In an instant, thousands of attacks had landed on his body. Every attack landed on his body, causing his blood to boil and his bones to tremble. Damn it! With a roar, the dark clouds in the sky rumbled. His huge body shrunk rapidly and finally became a human figure. He had a human crocodile head and looked extremely ferocious. In his hands he held 2 huge axes. As he waved them around, his aura could swallow mountains and rivers. Lin Xian's body swayed and retreated a few thousand miles away. He sneered. "Aren't you the southern sea godly crocodile? Why did you transform into a human? Didn't you look down on us humans? Why? Don't you have confidence in your true body? If that's the case, you can submit to the human race in the future. I can teach you a few skills." Damn it. The southern sea godly crocodile was about to go crazy. Smoke was coming out of his head. He had no choice. His true body was too big, and his opponent was too fast. The sword chi had broken through his suppression and reached him. The blood in his body was boiling, and his bones were about to break. That was why he shrunk his body and transformed into a human. That way, even if his opponent was fast, he might not be able to hurt him. However, his opponent took advantage of that and mocked him. He couldn't refute that. That was because he was indeed in his human form. Therefore, he could only rush over with bloodshot eyes and 2 giant axes in his hands. The axes fell, splitting the sky and earth. The sky was filled with axe shadows, making one feel despair. At the same time, his terrifying crocodile head opened from time to time and spat out balls of energy storms. Lin Xian, on the other hand, swung his long sword to fight back. The axe shadows that filled the sky were all destroyed by the sword light, and the energy storms were blown away by his punch. "Show me your ultimate move. This attack can't threaten me," Lin Xian said coldly as he swung his sword again and knocked back his opponent's axes. The southern sea godly crocodile snorted. His eyes shone with a piercing cold light. He knew that it was time to use his ultimate move. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to do anything to his opponent. Everyone held their breaths. The immemorial creatures were also shocked. In the sky, the prodigies of the Blood Knight clan and the Blue Demon clan also had solemn expressions. To think that this Lin Xian of the human race would be this formidable. However, they didn't care. From the looks of it, the southern sea crocodile god hadn't used his full strength yet. When he used his ultimate move, Lin Xian probably wouldn't be able to fight back. Buzz! As the southern sea crocodile god's aura exploded, the void behind him cracked open, forming a terrifying crack. It connected the 9 heavens and the earth, as if it was going to tear the sky apart. Whoosh! Endless light spewed out from that crack. Then a blurry figure walked out of the crack as if it had traveled through time. It was emitting an aura. The shadow of the crocodile ancestor. It was the shadow of the crocodile ancestor. Many archaic creatures screamed. Even the 2 prodigies, Blood Moon and Blue Devil, were stunned. They didn't expect the southern sea crocodile god to use such a terrifying ultimate move. Chapter 28-25. It seemed like the southern sea divine crocodile was truly enraged. He wanted to kill Lin Fan. Shuiyu sneered. La and Emo sneered as well. If he dies, his soul will be mine. The 2 of them sneered because they believed that Lin Xian was no match for the southern sea divine crocodile. The people of the human race were astonished. The aura of that figure was simply too terrifying. It was even scarier than the southern sea divine crocodile himself. Even the older generation figures felt their scalps go numb. Damn it! The power of the southern sea divine crocodile's bloodline was too strong. What he summoned was an ancestral awakening phantom. Lin Xian frowned as well. It wasn't his first time seeing an ancestral awakening phantom. The last time he saw it, it was the War Tribe's prodigy who summoned the War Tribe's old ancestor. But this time the ancestral awakening phantom, summoned by the southern sea divine crocodile, was even scarier. It seemed like the ancestral awakening phantom had something to do with the power of one's bloodline and one's own strength. His guess was right. The stronger one's bloodline power was, the stronger one's cultivation would be, and the more powerful the atavistic shadow would be. Hee kid, go to hell. After summoning the ancestral awakening phantom, the southern sea divine crocodile sneered as he swung his axe down. The ancestral awakening phantom behind him did the same. Boom! With the support of the ancestral awakening phantom, the power of the axe was terrifying. It could split the heavens and earth, and its power was much stronger than before. A terrifying aura enveloped the entire area, causing everyone to tremble. Even those pillars began to tremble violently. Heavens, what is this thing? How could it be so terrifying? Damn it, this guy is too scary. Is this the strength of a royal prodigy? He was hiding so much of his strength. Is that Lin Xian in danger? When the axe fell, the people below cried out in surprise. They felt that the axe was simply too powerful. Even invincible kings couldn't withstand it, and the older generation figures couldn't take it. Can that Lin Xian withstand it? Even Yi Wu Dao, the Alcade sage, Dustless, and the others looked serious. Ancestral awakening phantom? Let's see if your shadow is stronger, or my dragon shadow is stronger. Lin Xian snorted coldly. Boom! He directly summoned the great dragon Sword Soul, and a dragon shadow appeared in front of him, circling the 9 heavens and 10 earths. The terrifying aura caused the entire world to tremble. Even the huge axe in the sky had stopped moving, as if it had entered a quagmire. Its speed was terrifyingly slow. Damn it, what is this thing? As of this moment, the faces of Leaf Daudenier, Sage Sun Alcade, Dustless, the Blood Moon clan, the Blue Devil clan, and the Heavenly Sect all flickered. This was especially true for the ancient creature. It was so terrified that it couldn't help but tremble. Damn it, hold it in. These people roared crazily, but they realized that they couldn't control their bodies. Even their souls were being suppressed. The blood moon in the celestial palace quickly bloomed with light, wanting to crush everything. The prodigy of the Blue Devil clan also had a serious expression on his face. Mysterious runes appeared on his body one after another. They were also resisting this force. Damn it, that's a dragon. Their faces turned ugly. They didn't expect the other party to have such means. On the other side, the southern sea crocodile god's expression also changed. He felt a great sense of danger from the dragon's shadow. It seemed to be able to threaten his life. Damn it, this kid has bloodline power too. And it's actually related to dragons. How is this possible? He was too shocked. The dragon clan was the royal clan. They were even more terrifying. However, other than the nest of 10,000 dragons, only some flood dragons were related to the dragon clan. How could this human be related to the dragon clan? He really couldn't understand. Buzz! Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword shadow and slashed out. The entire sky trembled. The ground was directly pierced through, the mountains trembled, and the sun and moon lost their light. Even the arrays dimmed, as if they would shatter at any moment. Damn it, get lost! The southern sea crocodile god roared. The giant axe in his hand fell again, turning into mountains that fell from the sky. Boom! The two's attack was earth-shattering. Even with the protection of the array, many people vomited blood and were sent flying. There was nothing they could do. These two were too terrifying. After the attack, the two of them retreated. However, it was obvious that the southern sea crocodile god retreated further. His arm was numb, and the giant axe in his hand almost fell out of his hand. This made it difficult for him to be confident. Could it be that the other party's strength was stronger than his? Damn it, I don't believe it. True Tai water. Go to hell! He roared angrily, and the sky above his head spun rapidly, forming a huge vortex. Then there was a rumbling sound. Terrifying black seawater fell from the sky, covering the entire sky. It whistled and swept towards Lin Xian. A drop of true Tai water could crush the void. At this moment, the true Tai water had turned into an ocean. Its power was incomparably terrifying. Even the expressions of the older generation changed. Damn it, strengthen the array. They attacked crazily. Fortunately, there were enough human powerhouses this time, and they brought enough treasures. That was why the array could withstand it. Otherwise, if the true Tai water fell, everything within 1,000,000 miles would turn into nothingness. Blazing sun! Lin Xian stood in the sky, activating the 9-yang divine constitution to the extreme. Balls of 9-yang divine fire danced on his body. At this moment, he was like the sun, emitting a dazzling light. It was so dazzling that those people could not open their eyes. Some people even wanted to force themselves to look, but their eyes bled and they screamed on the ground. The sun-like divine fire shone in all directions, spreading in all directions. It collided with the true Tai water, and there was an intense sound of fighting. Suddenly, white smoke rose between heaven and earth. The 9-yang divine body was a body of the purest yang. Lin Xian had cultivated it using all kinds of heavenly treasures and extremely terrifying methods. Although it had only reached the 2nd level, its power was still terrifying. The 9-yang divine fire that it carried was truly terrifying. Even the true Tai water could not break it. Countless large cracks appeared in the sky, and it was a scene of apocalypse. Outside was endless black seawater that shook heaven and earth. Inside, there was a terrifying divine fire that directly enveloped Lin Xian. It made it impossible for the true Tai water to get close. Those that got close were all evaporated into white vapor, turning into clouds that drifted between heaven and earth. True Tai water? It was only SOO. Lin Xian snorted coldly, and a biting cold light burst out from his eyes. He used the yin-yang 8 steps and charged forward. His body was covered in the 9-yang divine fire, and he slashed forward. Coupled with the power of the great dragon sword soul, it was truly terrifying to the extreme. In an instant, he forcefully killed a bloody path out of the true Tai water. Chapter 28-26. Whoosh! In the sky, the true Tai water was mercilessly torn apart and retreated to the sides. Lin Xian had already arrived beside the South Sea divine crocodile. He stretched out his hand like the hand of a god and grabbed forward. His fingers were like a long dragon, carrying terrifying divine fire and sword chi. They directly enveloped the South Sea divine crocodile's head. He wanted to crush the crocodile's head. Seeing this scene, the South Sea divine crocodile was scared out of his wits. He roared angrily and quickly dodged. However, the palm was too cold. He couldn't completely dodge it. Although he avoided the vital part of his head, half of his body was still covered. Uft! One of his arms was grabbed by Lin Xian's palm and immediately torn off. Blood splattered everywhere, dyeing the sky red. Ah! The South Sea divine crocodile let out a miserable roar. His body swayed and tore apart the starry clouds in the sky. However, he couldn't stop the fact that his arm was torn off. He retreated crazily. His eyes were bloodshot, and he emitted a terrifying murderous aura. Everyone around was stunned when they saw this scene. They couldn't believe it at all. In particular, the primordial creatures were even more stunned. The South Sea divine crocodile was injured. How was that possible? That was a royal from the primordial era. Moreover, he had even summoned an atavism projection. How powerful was that? But now, one of his arms was torn off. That kid was too terrifying. His attack power was so strong. The prodigies of the Blood Moon clan had ugly expressions. The prodigies of the Blue Demons also had flickering eyes. Yi Wu Dao Wuchen, the Yaoguang sage, and the others also had serious expressions. The stars in their eyes flickered as they deduced Lin Xian's movement technique and the timing of his attack. That's great. Big Brother Lin Xian is awesome. On the other side, Shen Jingqiu cheered happily. Morong Qingqing also smiled. She knew that Big Brother Xian wouldn't lose. The others discussed animatedly. Too powerful, as expected of the Central Emperor. That's great. Great God Lin Xian, kill him. That's right. Next time, I'll grab his head and let him be arrogant again." The supporters of Lin Xian cheered wildly. "Brat, you dare to hurt me? I want you dead." The southern sea godly crocodile was so angry that he went crazy. Killing intent surged from his body, piercing through the clouds. Blood gushed out of the severed arm as a new arm grew out. However, even though his body had recovered, the pain in his heart and his overflowing killing intent could not be extinguished. He had to personally tear this despicable brat to shreds. Lin Xian threw away the arm in his hand. Then the 9 suns' divine fire pounced on it and burned it completely. He looked ahead and sneered. Was this the strength of a primordial royal genius? That was all there was to it. What right do you have to be so arrogant towards the human race? Like I said, the human race is not a pity. If you don't pay the price today, don't even think about leaving. At the end of his speech, the sword aura on Lin Xian's body suddenly erupted, transforming into an azure dragon that soared into the clouds. This scene was too terrifying. Tens of thousands of sword shadows circled around his body. There was a world-destroying crisis. Tyrant fist of the heavens. On the other side, the southern sea crocodile god charged over once again. His eyes were bloodshot, and when he blinked, there was a terrifying killing intent. This punch was so powerful that it could swallow mountains and rivers. It was as if a demonic god had been awakened. Not only that, the shadow behind him also threw out a punch. When the two forces merged together, the sky collapsed and the earth cracked. It was enough to destroy everything. The entire place was trembling as a terrifying force surged out from it. At this moment, the southern sea crocodile god seemed to have transformed into a demonic god that overlooked the earth. The crowd trembled once again. Although the southern sea crocodile god was being suppressed, there were no signs of him losing. In the end, it was still not certain who would emerge victorious in this battle. The tyrant fist of the firmament was an extremely overbearing fist technique. When the southern sea crocodile god used it, it was definitely terrifying. I don't believe that the brat can block it. The Blood Knight clan's genius said softly. His eyes grew brighter and brighter. Tyrant fist of the firmament. It was indeed a good fist technique. Lin Xian exclaimed. This fist technique was even more overbearing than the divine fighting fist that he had obtained. It was even more violent, as expected of a primordial royal. However, it did not matter. He had to win this battle. At the thought of this, his eyes shone with a cold light. He quickly formed a seal with his hands. As he waved his hands, endless sword light surrounded him. Then it turned into a shadow and charged forward. This illusory figure flipped its mouth in the sky along with the palm. Then it appeared in the sky. Seeing this scene, everyone was dumbfounded. Even the ancient creature's eyelids twitched wildly, and they were stunned on the spot. The southern sea crocodile god was so angry that he vomited blood. That damned brat! He had gone too far. He was furious because Lin Xian had used his sword qi to form a crocodile. It was a huge crocodile that was exactly the same as his original body. How dare he use his original body to attack him? The southern sea crocodile god was furious. He swore that he would make Lin Xian suffer. Kid, do you think that you can defeat me like this? You've underestimated me. The southern sea crocodile god roared. The tyrant fist of the firmament became even more terrifying. He would not be affected by such provocation. However, he was wrong. Lin Xian was not provoking him. Instead, he was using the great dragon sword soul to simulate all the power to attack. The crocodile's shadow was extremely terrifying. It was like an ancient demon mountain that rampaged in the sky and collided with the tyrant fist of the firmament. The void trembled and distorted before shattering. The 9 heavens and 10 lands were filled with wind and clouds. The terrifying fist shadow blocked the crocodile's shadow and roared in all directions. The tyrant fist of the firmament was broken. Damn it! How can it be so powerful? The southern sea crocodile god kept retreating with an ugly expression. For a moment, he even felt that he was not facing a human, but a prodigy of his own race. Damn it, this is too real. How did he do it? What happened next was even more shocking. In fact, not only the southern sea crocodile god, but the prodigies of the blood moon race and the blue demon race were also shocked. Their faces were terrifyingly gloomy. They could not wait to kill that detestable kid in front of them. Lin Xian waved his sword, and countless sword qi intertwined in the air, forming a blood moon. The moon was huge and red, emitting a strange light. It was even brighter than the blood moon formed by the prodigies of the blood moon race. A blood moon! The prodigies of the human race exclaimed in disbelief. The prodigy of the blood moon race's face also darkened. He was so angry that he vomited blood. Damn it! How dare he use the divine power of the blood moon race? He deserves to die. As Lin Xian swung his long sword, the blood-red moon descended from the sky like a blood-red mountain that came crashing down. It collided with the southern sea crocodile god again. The southern sea crocodile god waved his two giant axes and controlled the shadow of the crocodile ancestor to fight back. Chapter 28-27. The axe collided with the blood-colored moon again and again, causing a deafening explosion. Damn it! How can he be so powerful? The southern sea divine crocodile was shocked. He felt as if he was fighting against a prodigy of the Blood Moon clan. The power of the blood-colored moon was too terrifying. Impossible! Who is this kid? How did he do it? How can he evolve such a terrifying divine power? The southern sea divine crocodile finally panicked. The blood-colored moon continued to descend, and every inch of space was compressed and shrouded by the blood-colored light. The sharp aura it carried made the southern sea divine crocodile tremble. Many cracks appeared on his palm. The power was too strong, and he could not hold his weapon. Boom! The blood-colored moon completely pressed down, forcing the southern sea divine crocodile back. A few cracks appeared on the southern sea divine crocodile's body, and he was injured again. Damn it! The southern sea divine crocodile's face was gloomy. Hegemonic, heavenly axe. He used an extremely terrifying cultivation technique and charged over again. Lin Xian's long sword changed again. This time it was not a blood-colored moon, but a giant. It was an indomitable giant that was tens of thousands of feet tall. Its body was as blue as crystal, with a single horn on its head and wings on its back. Its face was ferocious. It was the appearance of the Blue Demon clan, but it had been enlarged countless times. Damn kid, how dare you! The Blue Demon clan's prodigy instantly roared. He was so angry that his body trembled, and he even wanted to charge over and kill his opponent. However, he was stopped by Dustless's Buddhist light. What? You want to attack me together? I don't mind extraditing you. Dustless's indifferent voice sounded. Humph. The Blue Demon clan's prodigy snorted and did not attack again. However, his face was terrifyingly gloomy. He swore that if he had the chance, he would kill his opponent with his own hands. After Lin Xian used the Dragon Sword Soul to evolve the Blue Giant, he began to attack. The weapon in the Blue Giant's hand turned into an azure dragon and charged forward. It collided with the heaven-splitting divine axe. With a clang, a resplendent light exploded. The southern sea divine crocodile cried out in anger. He realized that the divine power that his opponent had evolved was too powerful. He could not block it. Damn it, I don't believe it. Fusion! With a roar, the crocodile god behind him merged into his body. Immediately, millions upon millions of rays of light erupted from his body. It was as if at that moment he had transformed into an eternity of time. An even more violent and ferocious power erupted. 27,000 units of Archean power. The sky pride of the Blood Moon clan had a solemn expression. The blue devil prodigy's eyes flickered. That's right, the strength he displayed right now was definitely above 27,000 units of Archean power. In fact, he might even be able to reach 28,000 units of Archean power, as expected of the Southern Sea divine crocodile. What a powerful bloodline! What a terrifying bloodline phantom! One had to know that the other party was only from the younger generation, not an expert of the older generation. He had not cultivated for long before falling into a deep slumber. Now that he had awakened, he was still very young. However, he was actually able to erupt with the power of 28,000 units of the ancient era. This was truly terrifying. Most likely, not many of the young prodigies of the human clan would be able to contend against him. In fact, they felt that no one would be able to contend against him. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes as a golden light flickered in his eyes. 28,000 units of Archean power? It was indeed very powerful. In his normal state, he only had 25,000 units of Archean power. However, that was only his normal state. After summoning the great dragon sword soul, his combat strength had soared to the limit. One had to know that the Silver Lightning race's Archean powerhouse had lost 30,000 units of Archean power to him, not to mention the Southern Sea divine crocodile in front of him. Kid, go to hell. After fusing with the crocodile ancestor's phantom, the Southern Sea divine crocodile was incomparably powerful. With a swing of his axe, he directly chopped the blue giant into two halves. Countless large cracks appeared on the ground. Heaven and earth rumbled nonstop. Nothing could stop it. It was so terrifying. Its power had already surpassed Lin Xian's. Seeing that the other party had easily broken Lin Xian's attack, the sky prides of the human clan exclaimed in shock. The older generation figures had worried looks on their faces. However, the surrounding Archean creatures laughed out loud. Kid, go to hell. The human clan can only crawl at our feet. They were too excited because soon Lin Xian of the human clan would be killed by their sky prides. In the sky, the terrifying axe descended. It was as if the sky and earth were splitting apart, enveloping Lin Xian. Lin Xian used the yin-yang 8 steps, and his speed was extremely fast. He turned into a stream of light and kept quickly dodging all the attacks. Clang! However, at this moment, the Southern Sea crocodile god opened its terrifying crocodile head and spat out a terrifying bolt of lightning that blasted onto Lin Xian's body. It directly sent Lin Xian flying. After smashing through countless mountains, Lin Xian fell into the ruins that filled the sky. Oh no, he was hit. That should be the crocodile god's light. It was also a terrifying ability. After being hit, even an invincible king would be immediately pierced and killed. That kid definitely wouldn't survive. Even if he didn't die, he would be seriously injured. He's dead meat. No one can compete with the primordial royal family. The primordial creatures sneered. Murong Qingcheng and Shen Jingqiu exclaimed. Yi Wu Dao and the others were also shocked. The other human experts discussed animatedly. They all looked at the ruins in the distance. Was Lin Xian really going to lose? Could it be that the primordial royal family's sky prides were really that terrifying? They couldn't believe it, because previously Lin Xian had been incomparably strong and had the upper hand. At one point, he even injured the Southern Sea crocodile god. However, after the Southern Sea crocodile god activated his bloodline power and fused with the primordial shadow, he became so strong. Could this be why the primordial royal family was so terrifying? The other party was too terrifying. Just the shadow in his bloodline already had such terrifying power, and that was only the royal family. It was rumored that the royal family had people on the same level as the emperor who were about to appear. When such a person appeared, who could compete with him? These people's faces were filled with despair. The Southern Sea crocodile god also looked up to the sky and laughed. Lowly ant, I won't let you die so easily. I'll cut you up piece by piece. I'll let you bleed to the last drop of blood. He was too angry. Previously, the other party had dared to injure him. He definitely wouldn't let him go. Is that so? You're very confident in your attack, huh? The next moment, a cold voice sounded behind the southern sea crocodile god. What? The southern sea crocodile god's body stiffened, and a look of shock appeared in his eyes. The others were also stunned and looked up at the sky. Damn it, impossible! The southern sea crocodile god suddenly turned around, and a piercing cold light burst out from his eyes. The next moment, he screamed as if he had seen a ghost. Not far behind him, Lin Xian stood there, his black hair fluttering in the wind. He didn't look injured at all. Damn it, impossible! That's impossible! How can you not be injured? Chapter 28:28. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile was stunned. He knew that his opponent might not die, but he would be severely injured. His crocodile divine light could definitely break his opponent's body, but his opponent was unharmed. He didn't even spit out a mouthful of blood. That was too heaven-defying. Could it be that he didn't hit his opponent just now? He knew that his opponent had the 9-yang divine body, but he was more confident in his attack. One had to know that he had fused with the crocodile ancestor's shadow. He was confident that his attack could break through a sacred body, let alone the 9-yang divine body. Why? Were you surprised? Lin Xian sneered. Do you really think that you can hurt me just because you fused with the primordial divine shadow? Let me tell you, you're still far from it. Your primordial royal family is no match for me. If you want to fight with me, let your primordial royal family come. Today I'll start with you. Lin Xian's voice resounded in all directions. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. The expressions of the 10,000 Archean race changed. The primordial royal family was no match for him. If you want to fight, let the primordial royal family come. Heavens, he actually dared to say such a thing. Could it be that he wanted to die? The primordial royal family were the descendants of the emperors. The descendants of the emperors. Even the primordial royal family didn't dare to provoke such a person. How dare he say that he wanted to fight with him? Humph, who do you think you are? How dare you fight with the primordial royal family? Today I'll kill you. The southern sea divine crocodile's face was gloomy. So what if his opponent wasn't injured? With his current strength, he could completely suppress his opponent. He didn't believe that his opponent's physique would always be so strong. One day, he would be able to split his opponent's body. Thinking of this, he waved the giant axe in his hand and attacked again. Terrifying energy surged, and heaven and earth trembled again. Lin Xian snorted coldly. It's only 28,000 Archean power. You don't have the right to be arrogant in front of me. He was right. In the next moment, endless light burst out from his eyes as he crazily circulated the great dragon sword soul. Roar, roar, roar. Dragon roars rang out. The great dragon sword soul seemed to have come to life. It turned into an azure dragon and danced around. At this moment, Lin Xian was extremely powerful. Just his sword qi alone was enough to make everyone present tremble. Even Leaf Daudenier and the others had very serious expressions on their faces. The expressions of the sacred leaders, sect leaders, and grand elders who were watching all changed. This kid's strength was terrifying. What exactly was this dragon shadow? Could it really be that thing? The eyes of the Yi clan, Gu clan, and the other clan leaders shone brightly, as if they could see through the void, wanting to see everything clearly. The southern sea divine crocodile's expression changed. How was it possible that his opponent could increase his combat power? Could it be that the other party really did not use his full strength when fighting with him earlier? He couldn't believe it. One had to know that he had already fused with the primordial shadow. Every move he made contained boundless power. However, he was still unable to injure the other party. However, now that his opponent had increased his combat strength, would he still be able to contend against him? He didn't know. He held the heaven-splitting axe in his hand, and a fierce aura burst out. I don't believe it. He really didn't believe that he would have to gamble the glory of the royal family to fight with his opponent. He believed that the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan would not lose to his opponent. This was a terrifying collision. The power of the two was too strong, and cracks appeared on the array. It scared the others so much that their scalps went numb, and they retreated crazily. Fortunately, a peerless powerhouse joined forces in the end. Only then did the array stabilize. However, the space inside shattered and turned into nothingness. Roar! A terrifying dragon's roar rang out as it emerged from the void, forming an eternal peerless sword light. It destroyed everything. The heaven-splitting axe was cut in half, and the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile was also cut in half. Ah! The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile screamed crazily, trying to heal himself. However, the aura of the great dragon sword soul was too strong. Even he could not heal himself. Although his body had fused together, if one looked closely, they would see that the two bodies had not healed. There was a terrifying crack in the middle, and sword chi was swimming on it. Damn it! The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile screamed crazily, and fear appeared in his eyes. He had actually lost in this exchange. His opponent had cut him in half, and even his soul had been severely injured. Fortunately, he had used a secret technique to protect his soul at the critical moment. Otherwise, he would have been in real danger. There was a black bell above his head, and it emitted mysterious runes that shrouded his soul. He's not dead? That's really surprising. Lin Xian was also very surprised. His opponent's soul should have been destroyed by the sword just now. However, his opponent was still alive. He narrowed his eyes when he saw the black bell. Ancient treasures. Although the other party did not bring out many treasures, the heaven-splitting axe and the black bell were both incomparably profound. This was especially true for the black bell, which gave him a soul-stirring power. It seemed to be very dangerous. As expected, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile controlled the black bell and shot out a mysterious and terrifying rune. It pierced through the sword chi that filled the sky. The black rune quickly arrived in front of Lin Xian. Die brat! Lin Xian's pupils constricted when he heard the ferocious voice. In the next moment, he swung the dragon-shaped sword and slashed at the black rune, completely destroying it. It's just a rune. Do you think you can hurt me? Lin Xian held the dragon-shaped sword again and attacked. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile's eyelids twitched. He was extremely shocked. That was not an ordinary bell. It was a half-saint artifact with Taoist runes on it. It was extremely strange and impossible to guard against. It was even used to kill souls. However, his opponent's soul was fine, and the sword in his hand was able to destroy his soul attack. What exactly was that? One had to know that even a half-saint artifact could not destroy a soul attack, unless it was a half-saint artifact that was related to the soul. However, in the previous battle, he felt that the sword was not a treasure chi that was related to soul attacks. However, his opponent was able to do that, which terrified him. This battle was over. Lin Xian held the killing sword and came to the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile's side. Dozens of sword lights slashed out, and the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile fled crazily. He did not dare to take them head-on. His body had not healed yet. He roared and took out his ancient treasures to block the attacks. The terrifying shield, the terrifying flying sword, and the terrifying berserk blade were all infused with his power. These things could easily kill an invincible king. Even the primordial geniuses could not fight against them. However, in front of Lin Xian, he was sent flying. In the end, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile's body was cut into 36 pieces and scattered in the sky. He could not reassemble at all. I said that it's over. Lin Xian's eyes shone with a cold light as he slashed out again. Chapter 28-29. That sword strike was extremely terrifying. It was even more powerful than before. It would appear that Lin Xian's killing intent had been aroused, and he wanted to eliminate Lin Xian. Oh no! The expressions of the Blood Moon and Blue Demons changed when they saw that. Was Lin Xian really going to kill him? How dare he? The primordial creatures screamed crazily. Damned brat, stop! How dare you! On the side of the human race, their hearts were pounding wildly. Was Lin Xian going to kill a royal prodigy? This was truly an earth-shattering event. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile was scared out of his wits. He did not expect Lin Xian to really kill him. Was Lin Xian not afraid of the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan's revenge? He was a royal prodigy. Once the royal prodigies were angry, all living beings would be killed and blood would dye the sky red. However, the sword still slashed down and sliced his body apart again. Damn it, brat, I won't let you off. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan was very decisive. His soul abandoned his physical body and entered the Black Bell. Then the Black Bell emitted a black light and countless Taoist patterns. It shattered the void and tried to escape. Lin Xian snorted and extended a large hand that turned into a dragon's shadow. It pierced through the void and chased after the Black Bell. In an instant, he enveloped the Black Bell. Oh no! The primordial creature's expressions changed. The human powerhouses also held their breaths. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan screamed. Damn it! How dare you stop me? The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan will not let you off. If you kill me, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan will slaughter the entire human race. Blood will flow all over the land. His voice made the human warriors' faces turn pale. They knew that Lin Xian was telling the truth. The wrath of an archaic royal was truly irresistible. Lin Xian's voice was cold. I've said it before. The human race is not to be bullied. His body emitted a biting cold aura as the sword qi on his body kept attacking. The Black Bell trembled, and countless Taoist patterns on it were in a mess. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan was really afraid. Lin Xian was determined to kill him. What should he do? Seeing the Taoist patterns on the Black Bell gradually being worn away, the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan's Taoist screamed in fear again. Blood Moon, Blue Devil, hurry and save me. My Southern Sea Divine Crocodile clan will definitely reward you greatly. He had no choice but to seek help from the other ancient royal families. While the other party was terrifying, as long as the other geniuses of the Tai Nation's royal families were to intervene, they would definitely be able to save him. Shui Yu's and Lan Mo's eyes flickered. Cold auras emanated from their bodies. They were about to attack. Whoa! Off to the side, Leaf Daudenier and Dustless were also ready to attack. However, before these young geniuses could do anything, the sky suddenly split open, and the surrounding formations began to tremble violently. Cracks appeared in many places, and many people were instantly reduced to ashes. An extremely terrifying sense of danger permeated the air, shrouding the entire sky. A terrifying, murderous aura swept out in all directions like a peerless divine light. At this moment, everyone was trembling. Many people were lying on the ground, unable to resist at all. The faces of those experts were filled with fear. Damn it, who was it? Who made a move? It was actually so terrifying. Not good. A peerless expert has made his move. The experts of the human race were also shocked. They once again took out peerless formations and set them up to resist the terrifying aura. In the sky, a huge palm slapped down with ruthless power. It was burning with terrifying light as it descended from the sky, enveloping Lin Xian. Not good. His target was Lin Xian. At this moment, Everyone's hearts were pounding wildly. A peerless expert wanted to kill Lin Xian. Lin Xian's pupils constricted. He snorted coldly and used the yin-yang 8 steps to pass through the void. The dragon sword spirit shattered the space and escaped quickly. He gave up on the Southern Sea Divine Crocodile Clan because that palm was too terrifying. It was definitely above 30,000 Archean power. Boom! After that attack, the space where Lin Xian was previously shattered and turned into nothingness. The black bell was saved by the terrifying palm. Kid, I will definitely not let you off. The Southern Sea Divine Crocodile's vicious voice rang out. The gray bell disappeared. In the sky, the black palm did not disappear. Instead, its aura became even more terrifying, causing everyone to tremble. Yi Wu Dao, Dustless, the Alcade Saint Sun, and the others all had grave expressions. This was definitely not someone from the younger generation. It was definitely someone from the older generation. Moreover, they guessed that it was someone from the ancient race that had made a move. Finally, what they were worried about had happened. Some of the older generation figures sighed. They had already said that things that were too hard were easy to break. Lin Xian's strength was too heaven-defying. He had killed many Archean geniuses, and now he wanted to kill a king race genius. This had definitely angered the ancient race powerhouses. Now, the other party wanted to kill Lin Xian. Damn it, how shameless. Many human martial artists were enraged. The younger generation couldn't beat Lin Xian, so they sent the older generation to assassinate him. Was this the ancient race? How laughable! Where were the human race's powerhouses? The older generation figures shook their heads and sighed. They couldn't resist. This wasn't an ordinary ancient powerhouse, but an extremely terrifying existence. Moreover, it was an invincible king of the ancient era. Just a single palm was enough to suppress them. They couldn't even lift their heads. Perhaps even the holy sect master wouldn't be able to defeat him. Could it be that Lin Xian was really going to fall here today? Everyone began to discuss. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu's expressions changed. The martial artists of Immortal Palace were also crazily roaring. Palace Master! The Crimson Dragon's figure flickered, arriving beside Lin Xian. They both looked up at the sky. Lin Xian's face was dark. He didn't think that the ancient race powerhouses would actually make a move to kill him at this time. This was truly beyond his expectations. One had to know that they were in front of everyone. How could the other party act so recklessly? How shameless! Lin Xian sneered. Which race are you from? Let me see just who is so shameless. Facing the ancient race powerhouse, Lin Xian was still fearless. He even mocked him. This scene caused everyone's scalps to go numb. The ancient being sneered. Kid, you're about to die, yet you're still so stubborn. Let's see how you'll die later. As expected, the giant palm in the sky emitted an even colder aura. With a single palm, the heavens collapsed and the earth cracked. Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon's figures flickered as they dodged once more. However, at this moment, Lin Xian's body was also fiercely impacted. The nine-yang divine body rumbled, blocking all the energy. However, Lin Xian's expression was ugly. The Crimson Dragon beside him roared. F***CK, how shameless can you be? Ancient race, you've lost all face. Are you bullying the weak? You want your own race's geniuses to step onto the path of Emperor? Do you think that by killing him, your geniuses will become stronger? How laughable! The Crimson Dragon roared incessantly, emitting an endless dragon's might. The giant palm in the sky bobbed up and down. A cold voice rang out from the clouds. Chapter 2830. Although you're from the dragon race, you have nothing to do with the nest of 10,000 dragons. Since we're both from the ancient race, I'll spare your life. Otherwise, I'll kill you, peel off your dragon skin, and drink your dragon blood. This ancient powerhouse had clearly figured out the Crimson Dragon's background. Therefore, even in the face of the dragon's might, he wasn't afraid. Damn it! How dare you threaten Ben Huang? Just you wait. Once I reach the greater success stage, I'll definitely destroy your nest. The Crimson Dragon cursed. However, he also knew the danger of the situation. He turned to Lin Xian and said, "Kid, hurry up and leave." This was definitely not someone from the younger generation. This was an extremely terrifying ancient king. Let's leave and think about it. As soon as the Crimson Dragon finished speaking, a cold laugh came from the sky. "You can leave, but that kid has to stay." What? Hearing this, everyone's expression changed. The human powerhouse's heart beat wildly. It seemed that the other party was indeed targeting Lin Xian. Lin Xian's face also darkened. The other party was actually so blunt. Did they really think that he was easy to bully? He snorted coldly, and a biting cold light erupted from his body. The dragon sword spirit roared continuously, resisting the terrifying palm in the sky and the terrifying pressure. "Little guy, let's go. Come with me to the ancient race to drink tea." The voice in the sky sneered, and the palm fell, smashing towards Lin Xian. He said that he was going to drink tea, but it seemed that if he was caught in the ancient race, he would definitely be torn to pieces. "No, I don't like drinking tea," Lin Xian said coldly. At the same time, his body flickered and countless illusions appeared as he dodged quickly. A sword broke through the void, and Lin Xian's body appeared in another place. However, this time it wasn't the young Tianqiao, but the ancient race. It was extremely terrifying. Even though Lin Xian tore through the void, he still couldn't escape this terrifying palm. Not good. Lin Xian was probably really in danger. That's right. Unless someone helped him, he wouldn't be able to fight against the primordial king with his current strength. Everyone shook their heads and sighed. But would those elders from the Holy Lands really offend the primordial king and help Lin Xian? The answer was definitely impossible. Damn it. Lin Xian also roared angrily and took out the saint's hand bone, the 9-layered pagoda, and the flower protector to protect his surroundings and stabilize the void. The great dragon sword spirit roared as it laid down countless sword lights around him. "It's useless. Stop struggling. You can't escape." Another voice sounded, and a second terrifying palm appeared in the sky. The terrifying killing intent seemed to want to destroy this world. What? There's another archaic king? Everyone was stupefied. 2 archaic kings attacking at the same time. This was a fatal blow. Most likely, Lin Xian wouldn't be able to dodge it. In the sky, 2 giant claws erupted with terrifying divine power. They descended from the sky and completely enveloped Lin Xian. This time, even the Crimson Dragon was affected. He roared crazily and resisted. The other party's strength was too strong. It seemed to be at the level of a holy lord or sect master. With their current strength, they couldn't resist such a person. Lin Xian also roared. His body bloomed with light, and his sword chi became even more biting cold. He felt boundless pressure pressing down on him. Many cracks appeared on his body, and blood instantly dyed his body red. Scram! With a roar, the great dragon sword spirit roared, and the 9-yang divine body emitted billions of rays of light, preventing him from being crushed into a bloody mist. Even so, it was still very dangerous, because the 2 hands hadn't really landed. If they did, the power would be 10 times stronger than now. Die, kid. In the distance, the archaic creatures sneered. The humans were shocked. Yi Wu Dao and the others had solemn expressions. Murong Qingqing and Shen Jingqiu's faces turned incomparably pale. Light shone from their bodies, and they were about to attack. However, even with the 2 of them, they couldn't resist the divine power of the archaic kings. Moreover, What was even more terrifying was that the third archaic king had made his move. At this moment, everyone was in despair. The Crimson Dragon roared crazily. Lin Xian's face was gloomy to the extreme. 3 archaic kings, 3 holy lords had attacked him. They didn't give him any chance of survival at all. Who was it? Which archaic races were they? How could they be so ruthless? He swore that when he found out, he wouldn't be polite. He would slaughter all the geniuses of these 3 races. Kid, stop struggling. You don't have a chance. In the sky, 3 giant palms blotted out the sun and sunk the sun and moon. The scene was terrifying. The wounds on Lin Xian's body were even more terrifying. It seemed that his body was about to shatter. Buzz. At this moment, a ray of light lit up in the sky and turned into an eternal light, piercing through the 3 giant palms. Uft! Blood spurted out, dyeing the sky red. This scene caused everyone to be stupefied. The human race's warriors were dumbfounded. The creatures of the 10,000 ancient races were also stunned. What was going on? Someone had made a move. Furthermore, who was it that had injured 3 Archean kings in a single move? Lin Xian's eyes lit up. Following the wound, he turned into a ray of sword light and instantly rushed out of the encirclement of the 3 giant palms. On the other side, the Crimson Dragon also rushed out and roared at the sky. Ha ha ha, damn it, let's see how arrogant you can be. Come and kill Ben Huang. He was too angry. The 3 archaic kings wanted to rely on their endless years of cultivation to crush him. How could he not be angry? Lin Xian's face was also full of killing intent. If it was a young genius fighting with him, no matter how strong he was, he wouldn't be afraid. However, these archaic kings took advantage of their seniority to attack him. They even joined forces to kill him. Fortunately, a peerless expert made a move in the end. Lin Xian could see that it was someone from a mortal palace. Moreover, it was that Li Xuanxian. That eternal light just now was a flying dagger. Li Xuanxian came late to protect you. Palace Master, please forgive me. In the sky, a figure floated down. It was Li Xuanxian. His body was surrounded by a cold light, and in his hand there was a flying knife that was constantly spinning. Damn it! Who was it? The clouds of the 3 giant palms surged, recovering from their injuries and then disappearing. 3 terrifying figures appeared in the sky like gods and devils. They were precisely the 3 archaic kings. One of them was surrounded by silver lightning, forming terrifying lightning that covered his body. The other was scarlet red like a fire god, releasing terrifying flames. The last one was hidden in the darkness of the sky. Only a pair of blood-red eyes were incomparably cold. With a single glance, even unparalleled kings would tremble and kneel down. The auras of the 3 overflowed into the heavens, suppressing everything. Silver lightning race, fire cloud race, dark feather race. The 3 archaic kings stood in the void, their faces incomparably malevolent. There was actually someone who could injure them and save that hateful brat. This was intolerable. In the next moment, they raised their heads, staring at the immortal-like figure in front of them. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.